Let me get rid of my CR today.
Thomas, you're welcome.
Good evening. This is the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It's Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. Can I please get your attention? It's 7 o'clock p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbrough.
Here.
In honor of our veterans, we're going to do a little presentation today with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to have the Honor Guard come and stand with us so that we can do our pledge with them. Honor Guard tonight consists of Fire Rescue Captain Jerry Kuzinski, Fire Rescue Battalion Chief Nicole Nolte, Deputy Christine Leiden, and Deputy Mitch Leiden. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Flag, flag. May be seated, yes. And can you please also join me in a moment of silence for the veterans that we have lost in our military? Thank you very much. Our next item is presentations and special event approvals. And to continue with the Veterans Day presentation, I wanted to take a moment, since we are the day after Veterans Day is actually observed, to actually thank all of our veterans for their service. And I thought one way that we could do that would be to recognize those who work for the city. We have a number of veterans that work for the city of Dania Beach. And I'm going to recognize them in a moment as well. But if also, I know that we do have some members of the two American Legions here. We have a post 304, which I believe is in the back. If you could please stand. We also have American Legion Post 209 here. If you would please stand. And in addition to that, I'm pretty sure we have a number of veterans in the audience tonight. If those of you who have served, if you please rise and just be acknowledged. thank you all for your service. Now with that, what I am going to do tonight is I have a number of certificates here that I want to hand out to our city employees who are also our veterans of the military and other services as well, I think. I need somebody who will help me pass these out. Vice Mayor, do you want to do it? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll read off the names, and then you can hand them over? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Those are them. You want to go down there?
I'll go on the side.
Okay. Okay.
There's a mic, wireless mic.
Oh, want me to do that? Okay, that'll be good.
Where?
Okay. As I call each person, you'll come up and accept this, and then we're going to form a line here, and at the end, we'll do a group photograph, okay? From the city manager's office, Candido Sosa Cruz. From our city clerk's office, Angel Lumpkins. From community development, Patrick McConaughey. Hold on. From community development.
Oh, there he is, there he is.
Sorry. Also from community development, George White. From the CRA, Leon Carroll. From Parks and Recreation, Ted Nutsonis. Also from Parks and Recreation, Gustavo Lombana. From Public Services, Murray Steiner. From BSO Dania Beach Fire Rescue, Ivan Chavez. We have several from BSO Dania Beach Law Enforcement. We'll start with Deputy Juan Consuegra. Deputy Ivan Contreras. Deputy Keith Irovino. Deputy Sean Raka. Deputy Jevel Leon. Deputy Christopher Vincent. Sergeant Matthew Gioielli. The Air Force. Deputy Kazi Navarro. Yes. Deputy Sean O'Brien. Deputy Jairo Barrera. Deputy Davis Acevedo. Detective Matthew Sicone. Detective Anthony Pygo. CSIA Tony McClam. CSA John Gomez. Deputy Shedrick Jackson. Sergeant George Alexander. Detective Matthew Goodnow. Deputy Vincent Anthony. Deputy Precious Florence.
There we go. Okay.
As you can see, we have a number of employees. Some could not be here tonight, obviously, but we have a number of employees in the city of Dania Beach, and I can tell you that they make up all branches of the service. We have Marine Corps. Raise your hand. We have U.S. Army. We have Air Force. We have U.S. Army Medical Corps. Navy.
You don't count.
And Coast Guard. So I also have a proclamation I want to read real quick, and then we'll take a picture, okay?
I think the photo looked nice with the guys behind them. Yeah.
All right. Proclamation. We have some new proclamations, by the way, as well. They're very nice. We really like the new format. This is a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Dania Beach, Florida. Whereas November is National Veterans and Military Families Month, and whereas there are over 1,525,400 veterans in the state of Florida, with Florida having the third largest veteran population in the nation, with approximately 1,400 veterans living in Dania Beach. And whereas we owe each day of security and the freedom that we so enjoy to the members of our armed forces, and whereas behind the brave service members we honor the wives, husbands, mothers, fathers, children, and loved ones for the support they provide through deployments, moves around the country or the world, and their unwavering devotion and love. And whereas we respect and acknowledge the sacrifices veterans and military families make on our behalf on a daily basis, including lengthy separations, missed holidays and milestones, financial struggles, and children who must adjust to different schools, try out for new teams, and make new friends, yet somehow they thrive. And whereas during this month of November, when we pause to give thanks for all we have, it is fitting that we honor our extraordinary veterans and military families and their service to our country. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim November 2019 as National Veterans and Military Families Month in the City of Dania Beach, and call upon our residents to show their support for our veterans and military families and keep our armed services in their thoughts of gratitude. And again, we thank you all for your service. You want to get going down there?
Wait, don't go.
You want us to stay here? Whole commission? Thank you. I was going to have Anna do it, but I thought. Is this Santa Cruz? Come on over. Get under that. Right in the middle.
Yeah. Queremos pan la silla.
Thank you all for participating as well. The next item is Spirit Airlines acknowledgement. I believe this is Commissioner Harris.
Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to read this proclamation. This is from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, dated October 17, 2019. Whereas on October 17, 2019, Spirit Airlines announced the intention to build a state-of-the-art headquarters in the city of Dania Beach. And whereas the airline headquartered in South Florida for more than 20 years submitted site plans to the city of Dania Beach to build a campus comprised of up to 500,000 square feet at Dania Point. And whereas Spirit Airlines, the total capital outlay for that project will be approximately $250 million over the next 36 months. And whereas in 2022, 2022, approximately 1,000 employees are planned to be relocated to from the company's current facilities to the new Dania Point site. And whereas the project will pave the way for future growth of the airline, and the development will also include corporate offices and a new crew training facility. And whereas the mayor, the vice mayor, the city commission, the city administration, and the entire city team embraces and welcomes Spirit Airlines as a community partner in the city of Dania Beach. Now therefore, on behalf of myself, Commissioner Bill Harris, and of the mayor of the city of Dania Beach, the entire city commission, the entire city staff welcome Spirit Airlines as our new community partner in the city of Dania Beach. So the mayor's going to come down and do the presentation. Here's your proclamation. Ted Christie, president of Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines, sorry. Scott Howard, CFO.
Well, with that, as our new partners, we also want to make sure that you are always welcome here in Dania Beach. And with that, I'm going to give you a key to the city.
All right. I actually have one for John as well, so we'll make sure that we'll get you these before you go. So now I want to call up a few other dignitaries that are with us tonight. Commissioner Tim Ryan of the Broward County Commission. I want to call up the Masters Development Partners, Bob Shapiro and Terry Salzman. I want to call up the Kimco Development Partners, Peter Flint, and the Marketing Director, Tim Butler. I want to call up the CRA Director, Raquel Williams. Come on down. So, is anybody else? Oh, I want to call Pierre Tedashero from the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. Pierre, come on. Senator McDonald from Broward County.
Sandy? Show you what the airport looked like 35 years ago. That was the groundbreaking. This is a conceptual drawing of what it was. A little bigger now.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
think Spirit has this many gates yourself, don't you?
Easily, yeah.
Very funny.
That's great.
That's amazing. How are you?
Pierre, good to see you. Talk to Bob.
Appreciate you.
I know. No jokes. Decorate your office.
Okay, we do have some other presentations, but I'd like to skip ahead because I know we have another presentation, another proclamation with a number of people here for that in particular, and that is under proclamations number 4.2, which is to David Heath, Gangrels Wrestling Asylum, and Commissioner Brandemarty. There he is. Come on up here. For those who don't, we need to pull that back out, the podium. While you're doing that, I'll say a couple words, and I know Commissioner Brandemarty has some things to say. For those of you who don't know him, this is David Heath. He's also known as Gangrel, and he has a thriving business here in Dania Beach called Gangrel's Wrestling Asylum. And it has brought some unique talents to our city and some unique events that have been very well attended, and we're glad that he's here. So I know Commissioner Brandemarty has some things she wants to say. I'll let you go ahead.
I'm coming here with you, Dave.
Okay. Feel like I'm in trouble.
I'm not very, I don't do things the way everybody else does. And you all know it too. Okay. I'm very surprised to see you here after doing a 5K run for the epilepsy and also autism 5K walk. And that's what you're coming from Nova and Visit. You're born and raised in Hollywood, and you've lived in Dania for 5 years. Dave, you know, I'm presenting you with something that I really wasn't sure what it really was about. And I tell, the residents here will tell you, I tell it like it is. I don't play games. Okay, and here's what it is. A key to a city is for a person that has done almost like hero-like things, just like what you do with the teachings of the special needs children. Not all of you. Not all of you. And it's also giving you a key to the city is a gesture of kindness for all that you do in the city. And unlike the other keys that were given out, this one you don't have to hang on a wall. I am going to present to you a key to the city that you can be proud of to take wherever you go, whenever you go. And I will not give you one on a plaque. Because when I walk up to you, I want everyone to see that you have this key. Bobby, would you come up here for me, please? Commissioner Grayson, you know her well. And also, Craig, I believe you have a presentation. Okay, Bobby, you have the presentation. I also want you to know that Dave and Gangrels was a huge, huge participant with you guys and all the wrestling you did for the cancer show. And I'm so thankful and grateful to all of you for performing like you did. And I still believe it's real. I haven't gotten to the point yet. Are you taking a picture of me with these glasses on for Channel 6? Don't do that. Okay. Really, Bobby and I are so proud of all of you, but you're outgrown that school. You have. You need a bigger place. I believe you have like 50 or 60. How many students, Dave, that you have?
Just under 60.
Just under 60. You need a bigger place. So any developers in the audience, please keep in mind that we're looking for a bigger place. Parks and Recreation, I want you to know that this is the people's choice for entertainment. So let's be sure we include them in a lot of our events here. And you will also be performing at the Arts and Seafood Festival, which I believe there's a lot of people going to come here. Now Commissioner Grace, she's my best friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jamie. I was absolutely elated and honored that this beautiful establishment picked up the ball and ran with it this year for the American Cancer Society at the Dania Casino. I have never seen that place so packed. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. And I asked Dave, I said, where are your teeth? You know, because he always scares me with that.
No, I don't like it.
I just want you to know that we did what we could, and we still have donations coming in for the American Cancer Society. And this is our check that we have for tonight. And I was just told about a half an hour ago that this, by the end of the week, we got 2 more sponsors. This is going to be $10,000. It would not have been possible if it wasn't for Commissioner Chicky Brandemarty really stepping in and really going out there and helping us to contact people to make sure that they understand what this is about. This is significant. We have over 352 breast cancer survivors in the city of Dania Beach. And we really need to try to eradicate this horrible disease. And with your help and with your loyalty, and I wrestled a few of them, but just for play, okay? Just for play. The guys from Samoa,
Samoa, yeah.
boy, I'm telling you, if I ever get in the ring with them, I'm gonna wipe them off. I'm telling you, they were awesome. First of all, I want to thank this commission, because without your loyal support and without you being there and without you being a partner and a team player, this was absolutely awesome for us. So please, even though it's in the month of October, let us keep this going. Next year, we're going to double this, and I believe we can, and I believe we will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A footnote to this. Gangrels Wrestling Asylum has given out $24,000 in scholarships. And that's wonderful. Also, I gotta rub something in on somebody. Is Josh Crowder here? Oh, no, come up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet the marketing director of the Dania Beach Casino,
Yes.
Josh Crowder. This man also he went over and beyond. I want you all to know, they also have a buffet there. But after we sat down, I very nicely convinced them to let us buy one, get one free. And also, I'd like to announce the fact that Gangrels packs them in, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And you're doing really good with Gangrels. And they're booked into next year, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner. Still have a proclamation.
The last footnote I want to remind you that is on December the 14th at the Dania Casino. The boxes are out already for the Christmas toys. If you go in there, you don't have to gamble. You can go in and eat. If you don't want to eat, go in and gamble. But please bring a new toy. I'm just keeping it real. They have really stepped up the support along with elected officials and our fire department. And this is going to be awesome because we're going to make sure that every child, not only in the city of Dania Beach, but surrounding areas that needs a new toy for the holidays will get one. Thank you so much.
Don't go, wait a minute.
I got him, guys.
You can speak.
I'm grateful, blessed, and humbled. There are many people you could have gave this to. I don't deserve it, but thank you. But let's not make this
an ending note on what we've done. Let's make it a beginning note on where we're going. Thank you.
I want all the wrestlers to be in this photo.
I also have a proclamation, Chicky.
That's gonna be a challenge.
I have a proclamation.
We got a proclamation.
Oh, wait, sorry.
They can come up. If you want to come up, then I'll read it from here. Come on up, come on up. I don't recognize half of them without their outfits on from wrestling. I'm going to read this first. Be down there. I'm going to read this and then I'll come down. Okay, let me read this proclamation for you and then we will all take a picture. Okay, I can do that. Microphone. Give me the mic. Doesn't work. There it is. Perfect. Let me read this. Okay. Another proclamation, and this is for Gangrel. Okay, it's a proclamation from the office of the mayor, city of Dania Beach, Florida. Whereas David Heath, aka Gangrel, the Vampire Warrior, is an American professional wrestler and is best known for his career in the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, from 1998 to 2001, and intermittently throughout the mid-2000s under the ring name Gangrel, and for his return to the World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, Performance Center in 2019. And whereas David Heath holds championship titles from the following wrestling organizations: All Pro Wrestling, America's Wrestling Federation, All-Star Wrestling, Atlantic Wrestling Council, Hood Slam, International Pro Wrestling Association, Legends Pro Wrestling, Maximum Pro Wrestling, National Wrestling Alliance Florida, National Wrestling League, Paragon Pro Wrestling Live, Pro Wrestling Revolution, Stampede Wrestling, Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, United States Wrestling Association, and Vanguard Championship Wrestling. And whereas David Heath is the founder of Gangrel's Wrestling Asylum located at 1982 Tiger Tail Boulevard in Dania Beach, Florida. And whereas Gangrel's Wrestling Asylum is a pro wrestling training facility whose trainers have over 55 years of experience combined and have a love and healthy respect for pro wrestling. David Heath has trained over 600 successful students, 17 of whom have gone on to the WWE. And whereas Gangrel's Wrestling Asylum hosted their second annual cancer benefit on Sunday, October 13, 2019 at the casino at Dania Beach, and whereas on December 14, 2019, Gangrel's Wrestling Asylum will co-host, along with the city of Dania Beach, their third annual toy drive at the casino at Dania Beach. On the following day, December 15th, along with BSO Fire and Police, the wrestlers will personally give out the toys to all the children to make for a great holiday. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby recognize David Heath for his contribution to and partnerships with the City of Dania Beach.
All right, can you all look at me?
Yeah.
One after the other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Would you like for me to do one of my wrestling moves? Yes. Yes. All right, you
He has the ding shovel. Yes, in the ring every time. Am I right there? Yeah.
Okay. Our next presentation is Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce update by Randy Shane. There she is.
Good evening, Randy Shane, 100 Dania Beach Boulevard, Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, Madam City Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for inviting me again. It's been a very exciting month. Thank you. Yes, I chopped off all my hair. So last month we did a co-event with the Hallandale Beach Chamber. We had over 125 people. It was an event put on by Memorial Regional Hospital, which is a member of most of our chambers here in Broward County, and it was for breast cancer awareness. We had 2 doctors there. It was at a senior facility, actually in Aventura, really interesting and exciting, and it was just really nice sharing and networking with people and letting them know what's happening here in Dania Beach. On the 20th of this month, it's next Wednesday at 11 a.m., the entire city is invited to the ribbon-cutting grand opening of the new Firebirds in Dania Point. I can't say enough great things about what's happening there. Everybody should go, visit, see what's coming. It's very, very exciting. On the chamber website, daniabeachchamber.org, is the information if you want to RSVP for that event on the 20th. On November 23rd is our dinner auction at IT Parker Community Center. There are still tables available. It's a live auction and dinner. And then on December 6th is our toy drive as well for Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Our lunch is at Memorial Regional in the main auditorium, and that's also on the chamber website. So thank you again, and look forward to next month.
Thank you, Randy. Our next item is Parks and Recreation Department Quarterly Most Valuable Employee Presentations. Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney, City Staff, Eric Brown, Director of Parks and Recreation. This is our 4th quarter MVE, and we're excited because we've made it through 4 quarters of our year, and we're at the end of our year, and our 4th quarter MVE was actually chosen by the Director. The MVE that I chose for this quarter has done some amazing work when it comes to parks and recreation. Over 11 months ago when I got here, we had a few sport programs, but we have stepped our game up as far as adding soccer, and we have little league soccer being played now at Frost Park. Baseball, we will get back to it. T-ball, we will get back to it. We've tried it. Our Friday night lights is amazing. Our athletes coming in and being a part of our program from the Dolphins and from different NFL teams by this one person. Our football program, it's not usual for a municipality to run a Optimus program, but we do in the city of Dania Beach. And this employee actually had he was a one-man show. And when I got here, we gave him another staff person, and 2 staff persons running a Optimus program is phenomenal for the amount of work that program takes. Also, prior to me coming, we were taking cash into our buildings, and that was something that needed to stop. And I mentioned it in a staff meeting that we need to come up with recware, what I used at my former employment, and this employee went out and researched rec desk. Not only do we now have rec desk, but he's now training people on how to use rec desk throughout our city, and I think that is amazing. Our wellness program is off and running, and this person has done a great job as far as getting the word out and actually being a part of it and giving his input to the city manager and to other directors. He's done a great job. And lastly, I can go on and on and on about this employee, but lastly, I want to talk about one of our employees, a great employee. He retired after a number of years in our city. So one of our parks was a man down. Didn't have to ask him to go over there. He went over there. Not only he went over there, but he came to me and said, listen, I'm going to give the park a makeover. He gave it a makeover. Hey, I'm going to work with staff on making sure that the hours are being done properly. He worked with staff. I'm going to program the pool along with Jeff Ellis. He programmed the pool. So this fourth quarter MVE belongs to none other than Anthony Alfetti. Will you come up?
Thank you, thank you.
All right, Coffee, I'm holding it in. Come on. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I couldn't do it honestly without anybody else. You know, I got a team that works around with me and they help me out. Come on out here. I'm calling you out. Come on. Raphael, Hakeem, Mike, Abby. This isn't my award. This is everybody's award in Park and Recreation. Got this good group of guys and ladies that help me with everything that I do, and I appreciate everybody here. Over the past year, I've been able to grow and expand and, you know, just continue to learn and learn and learn more about the municipality. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, especially up here. Thank you, Tamara, because she's helped me alongside as well. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. The next item is a special event request from Dania Point for their sneak peek event to be held at North Point Drive, Phase 2, Dania Point, on November 17, 2019, from 9 to 4 p.m.
Mayor, we recommend this event, and we're supportive, and they have everything in line to be able to be a very successful event.
Okay. Any questions? Anything?
Motion
Wait.
to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Update on Tropical Acres birthday brunch by Vice Mayor Odman.
This is a very short update at the request of my colleagues, just to let you know what we've done so far for the event coming up on January 12th. We had our first committee meeting with myself, the city manager, city staff, where we started the initial planning and laid out the budget, which you may recall was $3,000, and of that we've really, between the plaques and the invites and the souvenirs, we've used up all of it. And then for the menu, there was some requests to clarify what the menu was. There's going to be the mimosas, the bellinis, some egg dishes and meats. And we're also looking, I know somebody is on it working to see if we can get a little bit of entertainment for that day as well. I don't have yet what the website's going to be to purchase the tickets. They're going to be a $20 suggested donation, first come, first serve. I think there's about 150, 200 seats available, but that will be announced shortly, and I hope everyone will come, and it's really going to be a special event. We're going to have the unveiling of some new historical artwork that we've worked on, and the next meeting for that committee will be on the 15th. So if my colleagues have any requests or any questions they would like me to bring to that, I'm happy to hear them.
Commissioner James?
Yes. Is it a way that we could make this a sunshine meeting in case any of us wanted to attend the meeting or give input, or?
Not really. It's this Friday, the 15th, and it's just to clarify the menu, which,
Who
like I
put the
said,
committee together?
I believe the city manager put the committee together. It was really just to designate who's doing what, who's in charge of the invitations, who's in charge of getting the plaques, who's in charge of setting up the website. Very
I just
minimal
would have liked
things.
for the rest of us to have an opportunity to be involved at some
Well, that's
point.
why, because this was, I think it was you that requested this. You wanted the line items of the budget, so that's why I brought that forward. And then I recalled that there was the question about the menu, so I wanted to bring that forward. And like I said, if there's any changes you wanted me to make, something to add or subtract.
Not off the top of my head,
Okay.
but
I mean, it was $3,000. We don't have a lot to work with. We're so grateful that Tropical Acres is donating the bulk of what we're going to be receiving that day. So these are just like little things for us to enjoy, souvenirs to send home with all the attendees, things like that.
all right.
All right.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
The commissioners are the ones that pick these certain people to go to Tropical Acres?
No.
Who picks the people that can go to Tropical Acres?
The people that go to Tropical Acres, anyone can buy a ticket for, it's a suggested donation of $20 to benefit the Dania Beach Historical Society and Museum, or you can just pick up your ticket at the website, whatever's easiest.
But it's limited.
Yes. It's limited to the space that is available at Tropical Acres. But there's no special list for commissioners.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let's see. Oh, the next item is a proclamation. This is for the West Lawn Cemetery rededication. We had a ceremony on November 1st at the West Lawn Cemetery where we did rededicate the cemetery and name the street after Marvin Merritt. And there was also a number of other things that took place, but it was a lovely event. And we wanted to do a proclamation as well to incorporate that. So again, with our new format on our proclamations that are much nicer now. Proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Dania Beach, Florida. Whereas in 1938, a young boy named Marvin Merritt witnessed the remains of approximately 12 African Americans being exhumed from their graves at what was then known as the Woodlawn Cemetery. And whereas the remains were then moved across the railroad tracks and buried in a mass grave at the West Side Cemetery, also known as the Dania Beach Colored Cemetery. And whereas the tombstones and monuments that once adorned the individual grave sites were broken and scattered about, and whereas in 1985, Marvin Merritt, along with two other men, Mr. Fred Benaby and Mr. William Hall, brought this story before the Dania Beach City Council, and whereas in April 1986, a memorial was erected in the West Lawn Cemetery to honor the remains of the early city residents whose graves had been disturbed. And whereas in honor and recognition of Mr. Merritt, the City of Dania Beach City Commission on October 7, 2019 unanimously approved Resolution Number 2019-125 to name a portion of an access road located within the city's West Lawn Cemetery to Marvin Merritt Way. Whereas on November 1, 2019, the official rededication of the West Lawn Cemetery occurred. Now therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim that a portion of road within the city's West Lawn Cemetery located at 1251 Southwest 12th Avenue has been named and is now known as Marvin Merritt Way. I'd like to, I know Mr. Benaby and Mr. Hall were both present at the ceremony. I'd like to see if we might be able to get a copy of this to them, to each of them. I think it would be appropriate. Is there anybody else that you think we should send it to? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Next is citizens' comments. Craig Valentine.
Good evening, everybody. Craig Valentine, Gangrels Wrestling Asylum, 1982 Tiger Tail Boulevard, Dania Beach, Florida. Just want to thank everybody, thank Bobby Grace, the entire commission, and everybody in the city for doing what they did for David Heath, the owner of Gangrels Wrestling Asylum, along with myself. And just to let everybody know, don't forget the toy drive is coming up, and a little bit more information. We actually did do the paperwork yesterday on Veterans Day. Starting January 1st, I know everybody knows we're going on television. The December 14th pay-per-view, they switched it since a lot of people have other events to do that evening, is going to be now free for Christmas. So it could be watched on Roku, it could be watched on Comcast, Apple Television. Fire Stick, is Commissioner Brandon Barney told me she just bought one and is figuring out how to use it. January 1st, we signed with Power Slam TV. So we are now, as of January 1st, when we're in the casino, we're going to be in 20 million Comcast homes. They're the providers. As soon as we get a bigger facility, we will be weekly in every Comcast home in 20 million viewers. And that's going to be right here from the city of Dania Beach. So, you know, like everybody said earlier, we're growing. We just finally got to find a bigger place here in the city, and the city is going to be, you know, on the map. We're going to do the best we can to go ahead and keep it growing. So I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you, Craig. Next is Mike Sarton.
Mike Sarton, 746 Southwest 3rd Street, Dania Beach, Florida. Good evening, all. I want to talk tonight about the cost of sea level rise. The threat that sea level rise poses to South Florida is here and it's now. We see evidence during a storm or a king tide, but many people have the idea that it's not something that's actually happening. We're already paying for it. And it's only going to cost more and more. Insurance companies, banks, and financial firms are beginning to take sea level rise into consideration when they make their business plans. The highest land paralleling the coast of southeast Florida is a geologic feature called the Atlantic Coastal Ridge. The Florida East Coast Corridor, where the Bright Line runs, lies right atop the Atlantic Coastal Ridge. Flagler's surveyors didn't want to build bridges because it was cheaper to lay the track. So, since almost nothing was here, they simply chose the highest ground and inadvertently marked the Atlantic Coastal Ridge for us. In the decades ahead, the highland in South Florida is going to become increasingly valuable, and the lowland is going to become difficult to insure and difficult to mortgage. It's just a fact. Low-lying areas east of Federal Highway are going to become difficult to insure. They're going to become difficult to get a mortgage on. These conclusions were laid out in a piece by Jeff Nesbitt as long ago as 2017 in an article in the New York Times. When considering how to rate a city's bonds, insurance agencies and rating agencies such as Moody's, Services, Standard & Poor, and Fitch are now looking at what cities are doing to combat or deal with or mitigate sea level rise. So our bond rating is tied to what you do in order to mitigate or frankly accommodate the inevitability of sea level rise. Cities that are taking steps to work with the rising seas are going to get better bond ratings. Some people don't believe in climate change, and to quote Senator Patrick Moynihan, everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. One can certainly fight a war against science, the moon, the atmosphere, even gravity itself, but I can promise you that you're going to lose it. I have solutions for next time.
Thank you, Michael. Brother Mac?
Good afternoon and good evening, and certainly sitting here as a veteran myself.
I need your name and address, please.
Oh.
For the record. Thank you.
Brother Mac out of Lighthouse Community Church. We're a faith-based operation that mentors to children. I was so moved by the veterans. You don't realize it 50 years ago when they sent me a token, when they were drafting people. In New York, you got a token, one token, come down, that was it. And as these guys were coming up, their uniforms, and they looked sharp, and it just reminded me of the price that's been paid. And unless you've been there, it's hard for you to have the thoughts about it. I haven't thought about Vietnam for many, many years, but I do remember that first haircut. And I still say, when I told the guy, yeah, just take a little bit off the sides, and I think they did haircuts in like 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And you were done. So I really want to commend those veterans and for what you have sat here and done for them. I mean, that is what the American process is about. So I'm taking this time really to talk about the veterans, but what you as a commission have done to support them. That's big. So I'm here tonight just to give you an update on our program, but I wanted I was reading the Dania Press, and what I read was an article that was by one of the commissioners here. What she said was, what matters most is that you can work your way up and give back to the people that put you there, and to make sure that you actually do what you say. And that's a testament, even though she wrote it, but when I read it, I realized that this applies to all of you. I've known some of you for a very short period of time, but it's been a good thing. And I'm glad to be a part of the process that you can come and actually see how your government works. So I've said that, let me give you an update. Our program, as we've started in October, we're operating in 4 schools: Dania Elementary, Olson Middle, Pines Middle, and we are working into South Broward High School. We have over 100 kids that are being mentored to in our after-school and our in-school program. As compared to last year, we only had, at this same time, we only had 40 students. We're up to 100. We are expecting our growth to probably reach about 200 students before the year is out. Now, we are a data-driven program. We ensure that kids come to this program, that their grades and their behavior and their attendance improves. Those are our 3 marking stones. And so we've been able to show and prove that 97% effective rating that we got last year, to come in and check it, to see it. So, one, I'm inviting you at any time, come into our after-school program or meet us in Dania Elementary. We'd love for you to see what is going on with these children. So we're just proud to be a part of the community and understand that from back in 2005, when Lighthouse Community Church was envisioned, one of the things that was in an article in the Sun Sentinel was the community is benefited by outreach programs. Churches cannot sit behind the walls and do church and not come outside to affect the communities. We are firm believers that we have to work outside the walls of the church to affect and to improve our community. So part of what we're doing here as we continue this, we believe that Dania Beach, which is the cornerstone of this program, and with the commissioners and the mayor and the support that you've given us, we're just thankful to be a part of this. So that's just an update on what we're doing. We invite you to come out and see. And we were thankful that Dania Press presented an article last month on the program. I didn't realize how many people read the Dania Press until I'm in the supermarkets, I'm in the cleaners, I'm seeing people, and they say, well, I didn't know your name was Terrence. You know, I was, okay, but we're glad to be a part of this. And so from that, we've been able to have a few vendors like Antonio's Restaurant. They supply a meal for our children, the after-school program. PDQ, who's new over in Dania Point, have now, once a month, they're supplying food for 50 children. So they're helping. And so what we're looking at is I see all of you guys out and about, and it's re-election time. I mean, it's great. We're looking to see what you can do to help. If there's a vendor or a restaurant that can supply food once a month, that's a big thing. And so this is my question to you, can you help? We always need mentors, but now we need some people in the community to help feed these children, because until you're in the cafeteria and you see how many kids don't get free lunch, and they're standing in line next to some kid so that he can give them half of his lunch, and their pride is so that, well, how come you're not eating? Well, I didn't like what they had. That's not the truth. Most of them cannot afford it. And although you get a free breakfast, if you're not on time in school, and all you have to do is be there at 8:30, 9 o'clock, you see how many kids come to school late, they don't get breakfast. And if they don't get breakfast and you don't get lunch, by the time they get to us at 5:30, they want seconds and thirds. We're glad to help.
Brother
We
Mac.
need some help.
Thank you.
We
Thank
good?
you. Yep.
Any
Thank you very
questions?
I'll be
Thank
calling
you.
you Brother Mac, okay?
Okay.
This week.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'm going to leave this with the clerk. This is our program in essence.
Carol Hemis.
I'm short. Carol Hemis, 214 Southwest 6th Street, Dania Beach, Florida. Okay, I'm back on my city center again. I really would like to be involved in that because I want to make sure that what you're doing is commensurate with what the people want. I know I don't work big business, so my thought is you look for what you want, you find what you'd like to do, and then you can see if you can afford it. I've been told that that's not the way big business works. They do money first and then go looking. It's like buying a car. I can go out and tell them I want to spend $450 a month, and they'll make sure I can do it. I want to find something that we like, that fits with our city, and then decide what we want to spend on it. But I'd like to have the workshops. We'd like to be able to come with them because a lot of citizens want to know what's going on and want to have a say in what the city looks like, because this is where we live and this is where we're going to stay. So please keep in mind and just let us know what's happening and what progress is being made, and if we can come to any of the workshops, I'd be glad to be there to see what's going on. I'm nosy.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, and now I'm going to advertise. Since the Reverend here was saying that he was in Vietnam, Honor Flight South Florida is an organization that sends veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and you don't have to have been in the country just during the service during that time period. It's free to the veterans. The Guardians pay $400. But come see me if you're a veteran, and we can get you on an honor flight because it's really beautiful. Most of the veterans that came back from Vietnam never got appreciated when they returned. They had things thrown at them, cursed at them. They did not treat them like veterans, like they should have been treated. I've seen so many crying when they come back, just because people are saying, you're my hero. So we'd like to send as many as we can, so please make sure you contact me or honorflightsouthflorida.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Maurice Andrews.
Well,
First of all, I'd like to say that I'm not the kind of guy that normally comes to meetings like this. In fact, the only reason I'm here is because my building flooded, and a lot of the tenants were affected by the flood. But a funny thing happened that first flood. We had two floods, but the first flood, the mayor was there, and the commissioner was there. And I'm standing side by side with the people who have the power to make some changes and do some checks and make sure everything's on the up and up. The tenants of the building that I live in don't really necessarily get the truth. The people who are responsible for that flood will blame it on somebody else or just not say what really happened. So we don't get the real story. The main reason I'm here is I would like for you, people who have the power, to demand the real story, to share the real story with us. The place at Dania Beach, I'm sure most of you know, was flooded twice. Before that flood, there was little minor leaks that affected only a few apartments. My apartment was one of them. And they said, okay, we've got to put these units in and dry it out. But there was no need for me to leave. But the drying out of the units, it sucks the water out of the air. It also sucks the water out of your body. So you wake up in the morning dehydrated. And it's a terrible way to live. So I leave, and I got the second time it happened, basically. I went ahead and got an apartment, and they tried to reimburse us and everything. But then the next time it happened, which was just recently, I stayed with a friend. But the bottom line is somebody should be held responsible for this whole thing. And we're counting on you to find whoever is responsible for this and hold them accountable. And the other thing I have to say is I'm honored and very appreciative of being able to speak, like I say, to the people of power who can make a change, who can make this right. Because I know business people will not do what's right because it's right. They will do whatever meets their bottom line. So the tenants of my building are counting on you to do what's right, and I got a good feeling about this. I feel that you are good people with a good intention of doing what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, can I, City Manager, can you give us an update on what's been going on with that?
Yes, absolutely, and I'm so glad you came. We've started a BSO law enforcement investigation. We found it, to be too much of a coincidence that within a period of a month and a half, both on long weekends, by the way, that this happened, sir. In addition to that, we want to go back to when the building got its original certificate of occupancy. And we want to find out what were the reviews in those plans, what were the commentaries in those plans in regards to that room, you had the pump room and the filters and everything associated with the pool. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to come forward and inform all our residents in the place in regards to what our findings have been. So we cannot control what they do, but we can certainly go above and beyond for you, our residents, without a doubt. It's my pleasure to serve you, sir.
Just please share information with us.
Absolutely, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next, we have public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. In reference to the investigation, we're in the fact-finding portion of it. It might take a little time, but every bit of information I get, I'll report back to the manager and everybody up in front of me. I spoke about this at the Seniors Club last week. I spoke about it at the Estates today. This is something very, very important, and I'm going to keep harping on it. Scams. We're getting reports of these nonstop. The IRS will not call you on your phone. You don't owe them money on a phone call. You don't go get gift cards and send them to people or take pictures of them. Hang up on them. If you have any doubt in your mind that the Social Security Department or an agent from some federal agency is calling you demanding money, call us. Hang up, call us. We get every day somebody's getting scammed out of money. We just had one that fell for the IRS scam. The poor woman was told that if she doesn't send the money they're requesting, that they're going to withhold her Social Security check. Please, if there's any doubt in your mind, just call us. Another important law is this texting law. Everybody texts nowadays. We see traffic fatalities nonstop, all as a result from texting and driving. Come January 1st, we're going to be issuing citations. We can pull you over for texting. So remember that, be safe, don't text and drive. If I catch myself texting and driving, I grab my phone off my belt and I throw it on the floorboard, and I don't have to worry about it. I wasn't texting, I just threw it on the floorboard. Nice try though. The holidays are coming up, we're going shopping, we have all the new shops at Dania Point and everywhere else in town. Make sure you don't leave your valuables in vehicles. So often people go shopping, they go to BrandsMart or another store, they purchase something and they leave it in their car while they go into another store. Don't do it. Hide it, take it home, do something. Our National Night Out and Fall Festival, Trunk or Treat, was a big success. It was great. Fire Rescue was out there, Parks and Rec, all the electeds. Just a really, really fun time. And I believe this is the biggest one we've had yet over the last 3 or 4 years. That completes my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioner Brandon
Yeah, Danny, what about this new license that everybody's supposed to be getting, or they got? Which is it?
I still have the old one. I'm going to
Yeah.
go online and research that myself.
The new one with a star on it that proves what? That you're a citizen or something? It's got a date that we have to have them by in order to travel on a plane, or you can't go. Maybe Mr. Shapiro knows. No.
I just flew on a plane, and I had the old license, and I had no issue
No,
with it.
well, the date isn't here yet, Mayor.
I'll look into that tonight and find out because I'm kind of curious
It
about
isn't
that
here
myself.
yet. I think it's the first of,
All the signs said October 1st of 2019, so they were still allowing us through, even if you had the old one. There's probably a grace period, that's my guess.
they claim that if you tilt it a certain way, you'll see a star. I didn't look at mine either. But anyway, if you know any more about that the next time, maybe.
I'll find out.
Oh, thanks. Bye. They asked that at the seniors, too. That's why I'm re-asking. All right, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks.
What is it? For what? Why didn't you tell them? It came in the mail.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and staff. Sergeant Pelcher, District Chief. I want to start off basically by letting you know that since June of this year, we've been conducting every time our rescues goes out, and I'm sure all of you already know this, but mostly everybody does not, that we are doing, after they run the call, we do what's called a satisfaction report. So we'll do a survey of the people we transport to find out how well our crews are doing. And over the last few months, we have started this, we're at a 90.9 satisfaction rate, which places us in the top 10% of the nation as far as how our paramedics are running the calls on our citizens. I'm going to be working with Demetra, Bobby Grace, and Commissioner James on getting us some turkeys and making sure that the families that need them out there are, taken care of. So that's going to be happening soon. So I'll be reaching out to people, but I already have a few turkeys in pocket. Thanks to Kimco for helping me with the toy drive. We're going to do a firefighter's toy drive, which is basically fill the fire truck. That's going to be November 29th and 30th. It's going to be in front of BranchMart here in Dania Point. So thanks for that partnership. As you're aware, on October 24th, we had our ISO inspection. We completed, the inspector came through, we completed all the necessary paperwork. He checked out our trucks, checked out our equipment, checked everything out that we're supposed to have in top working order, which we did. And we followed up with all the documentation from that point. So just waiting, I'll be anxious for the next month or so until I get the report back, but hopefully we did very well. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't see any. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Chief. Okay, next we have the consent agenda. Do we have any polls?
I think I do.
Commissioner James?
Yes. 4 and 5.
4 and 5, is that what you said?
Correct. I mean, I'll just pull 4 because it's the same question for both, so.
I could pull them both.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7.4.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
7.4, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the expenditure of funds for the Public Services Department for services purchased from Carnahan Proctor and Tross, Inc. for professional engineering services for fiscal year 2019-2020 that exceed an annual vendor total amount of $25,000, authorizing such purchase to be made within the department's approved annual budget appropriations, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date from the Public Services Department.
Thank you. I had a few questions that I had answered by finance earlier about this item, but I guess I'm trying to figure out, I know that we had this firm because we did not have an engineer, but now we have an in-house engineer, and I guess I'm trying to figure out why do we need all of these services, or what our engineer can do to possibly cut down on some of the expenses since we have one now.
Good evening, Fernando Rodriguez, Director of Public Services. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the audience, and my colleagues. This particular item and the following, as Commissioner James alluded to, is basically very similar. And yes, we do have a city engineer who is our deputy director. However, there is a lot of technical and very detailed work that, for example, the Carnahan Proctor firm or a CGA will do for us. And it doesn't just involve permit reviews, but also drainage calculations, hydrologic analysis, looking at drainage basins, and just looking at the entire picture on different projects, sometimes more micro. And the components of the deputy's job are partially operations, partially engineering. It's not purely detailed analysis the whole week long. So there will always be a need to have engineering firms on board, and the projection for this particular company is not much more than 50 or 60,000 for the year. We cannot really cut back the engineering consulting work by a lot because, again, a deputy director will be guiding the process, will be overseeing the work of engineers, but they cannot, in and of itself, be the engineer full-time. There's a lot of work going on that we do, a lot of firefighting, that this happens day to day, and there's no way that you can sit there and do the engineering work day in and day out. It's just, no, it doesn't happen in any department in any city.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to know, was it something that we would be able to save some money? Because I know so far we spent $35,000 in it. So I'm assuming by the time we end the fiscal year, we'll be well over 50.
We will probably be over 50, but there will be some cutback in the expenses, but not as much as one might expect, because again, deputy director is still helping directing the department, not
Okay.
just engineering. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next we have bids and requests for proposals.
That's 8-1, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the proper city officials to award request for proposal RFP number 19-011 for social media, website updating, and graphic design services to Multimedia Marketing and Associates, Inc., providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Presentation?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, residents. My name is Candido Sosa Cruz, Assistant City Manager. As the Commission directed the City Manager earlier in the year to enhance and augment our social media services and also to increase citizen engagement, we put out this RFP 19-011, which is called Social Media, Website Updating, and Graphic Design Services. What this RFP is intended to do is, again, enhance, augment, and support the city's social media pages. Also to increase citizen engagement, update our website, and throughout the year, provide graphic design services as needed for flyers, for our website, and for pretty much for any event that the city might be participating in or doing and needing graphic design services. The city received 6 proposals for this RFP. The city created a bid review committee. The committee consisted of our public information officer, of our parks and recreation director, a senior accountant from finance, and the assistant city manager, which is myself. We reviewed all 6 proposals. We ranked them. We applied points to each one of the proposals. And clearly, above and beyond, Multimedia Marketing Associates came out number 1. The city administration early in the year budgeted, or earmarked, I should say, $30,000 as part of the commission contingency for these services. And at this time, the administration is recommending approval of the resolution. So we're able to enter into an agreement with Multimedia, and then next month come back with the agreement and for the company to do a presentation and introduce themselves. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I have a few. I didn't see a score sheet in the backup. Is there a score sheet that we could view? Because I didn't see one.
Yes, Commissioner. I included the score sheet in the memo that the manager provided the commission. The second page of the memo.
Okay, I didn't see that one in this line item. So it's in the memo?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in the manager's memo. And Tom, was the score sheet also included as part of the backup? There should have been a one-page score sheet as well.
Must have been an oversight on my end. I remember, this has been a long time coming, especially as far as the social media aspect of this, and that was the reason why this was brought forth. I did go through and look at each one of the bids. With this one, this is the first rank, the highest rank, and they do provide a number of services, but when I went to their website, I didn't see anything that said social media on it. I didn't see a tab under services. It didn't say social media. When I called them, they said that they do like campaigns. So something that you would specifically need if we were doing a campaign or if we were doing the census or something like that. But really for like day to day, I think that's what this was kind of for. They really don't provide that service. They did mention that they did some work. I asked what municipalities they work with, and they said they did some work with Homestead at Oakland Park, but usually they do like the state of the city and just videos of those kinds. So I know that they create web content and graphics. They do everything that our PIO basically does. I don't know the value of the social media aspect of the engagement and the various aspects that it would take to really be a social media manager. I don't think that was one of their strong points in talking to them. And so I don't know if we wanted this for the other aspects that they are very strong in, but it didn't seem like they were very strong in the social media part of things.
The bid review committee, again, they looked at all the different components. They looked at the relevant experience that each one of the proposers bring to the table. And social media is one of those components, along with graphic design, along with web updating, along with a
I
citizen.
just couldn't find any of the work, you know, because I wanted to kind of like
Right.
view and, you know, compare. I just didn't see any of the work, and so I went to their website. They don't have anything that says social media on their website. There's no tabs, no anything. And so I really wanted to build our social media presence, and that's, you know, that's why this was brought up from the vice mayor in the first place. Was the number one priority was social media, and they do multimedia, and they do, like I said, a lot of different things like creating. They said they have the capacity to do that, but as far as like the day-to-day things of what my expectations were, I didn't see that they did that with the social media part.
Our primary social media person is our PIO. That's Katia Bordy, our Public Information Officer. She's handling social media 7 days a week, pretty much all day, all night. She covers all events. And I'm sure you've noticed our Facebook has definitely increased as a number of viewers, number of followers, and also increased in citizen engagement. There's a lot more engagement going on our website. There's a lot more engagement going on the Facebook, I mean. And basically, this component will be supporting our primary person, again, our PIO. This person, this company, Multimedia Marketing Associates, has been in business for over 24 years. They're a full-service multimedia company. They cover the full spectrum as far as multimedia, from social media, from website, from advertisements, from bilingual campaigns. They have experience working with the city of Homestead, the city of Miramar, the city of Doral, the village of Cutler Bay, the city of Oakland Park. They've done campaigns in English, Spanish, Creole. They've worked at the federal government level, doing national campaigns. I could tell you from reviewing all the proposers, this company has what we're looking for to increase citizen engagement and to increase social media and to increase all marketing avenues that we want to pursue. The owner of the company is here today if anyone has any questions for the company. But we're very confident that this is the company that's definitely going to take us to where we want to go as far as citizen engagement, increase social media, increase graphics, and any other multimedia services that we might need.
Commissioner Brandamari?
Candida, who decides what goes on social media?
When you say social media, you
For
mean our Facebook?
locally, because I haven't been happy with it. There are events here in the city that weren't even covered.
Again, the PIO covers, handles everything that goes on Facebook. The city manager's office, along with different departments, provides support to the PIO. For instance, Eric Brown, when there's an event, he'll send the photos. If Katia goes to a seniors event, she'll take the photos herself. Right now, the reason we do need this additional support, because it's a one-person show. And one person cannot be everywhere
You're right
at
on
one time.
that, because I'll tell you, there was lousy coverage on the cancer benefit, and there was lousy coverage on Gangrels on the wrestling. It hasn't been good coverage at all. And when questioned as to, you ask the person, who told you not to? Well, it comes from the city manager's office. So I guess I'll have a meeting with my city manager then. I think so, because something's not right. Events here, the people that put it on social media, do they even live around Dania? Well, the companies that you work with.
Which company?
How do they know what's going on in Dania?
They follow us on Facebook. They go on our website. There's a digital newsletter that we also send out. Are there opportunities to get better? Absolutely. And we believe this is one of those opportunities to get better.
You're right. I think that this is a good idea, because right now I'm not happy with it at all. Like I said, they didn't cover 2 major events, and they didn't even cover it.
City Manager?
Commissioner Brandemar, like Candido says, any opportunity for us to get better is always our goal and our objective. Having one person do a 7-day operation, we certainly know that that
Don't work.
this individual needs support. I'd love to meet with you on those opportunities, but we look forward to moving forward with this company. But more than anything, coming forward at the next meeting and having a full-fledged presentation from the company so you can see how we can augment and enhance all
So
our
this
efforts.
isn't the same company?
This is the company based on the RFP.
Oh, okay,
We-
all right. No,
we don't
no,
have
no,
a
no,
company
no.
right
Okay,
now.
We don't have a company.
I'm all for this,
Yes,
absolutely.
thank you.
Commissioner Harris?
Asked and answered.
Vice Mayor?
So just to clarify why I think there was a little bit of confusion at first, I mean, this was my item. I brought this up a year ago when I first came on. And, you know, I had a whole presentation that I did for the commission. You know, there was very specific, and I really don't remember the entire presentation because it really was a year ago, but it was pretty specific to social media. And the buy-in that I got from my colleagues was for social media. I didn't come on and talk about multimedia and graphics to any great extent. It was about social media. Now, that said, you know, so I think that's why you're getting some of the question marks, because this goes outside of what I requested a year ago. But you know, I agree with the counterpoints that you made that you know, Katya does a fantastic job, but she is one person, and as PIO, she can't cover everything as, you know, as perhaps we would like. You know, I think that this service, I hope it provides the comprehensive, you know, services that you're describing, and is able to really supplement that social media aspect, which, like I said, was the original intent of this commission. And I don't like when what our intent was and what we gave consensus for is kind of glossed over and lost in the mix. What was important to us, you know, I want the focus to remain on that, and I hope that this company, you know, can bring that.
So we need a vote. Do we need consensus or we need a vote? So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion,
to approve.
do we have a second? I'll second it. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandimart?
Yes.
I'm sorry, this is a motion to approve the resolution. Commissioner
Sorry
Brandimart?
then for jumping on you. Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you.
5-0.
Next item is public hearings.
9-1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2 entitled Administration, Article 11 entitled Lobbyist Regulations, Section 2-231 entitled Lobbyist Registration, and Section 2-232 entitled Reporting of Lobbyist Activities of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to an increase of lobbyist registration fees and pertaining to reporting requirements, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. Second reading of this ordinance. Public hearing.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing no one.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandimart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
5-0.
9-2, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 17, Offenses Miscellaneous, Article 8, Sexual Violators, Section 17-128, Sexual Violator Residency Prohibition of the City Code of Ordinances, but to replace the term violator with offender, update the definition of sexual offender, and make the provision of residency prohibition applicable to short-term transient use, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. Second reading of this ordinance.
Presentation?
A brief one. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. This is a second reading of an ordinance to better regulate activities at vacation rentals. This was discussed with the City Commission. It actually involves two ordinances. I'll ask Tom to read 9.3 later, but my presentation is for really both ordinances. 9.2 would be to change the definition of what is residency for the purposes of enforcing our sexual offenders regulations. And then 9.3 relates to vacation rentals. In essence, when you combine the two of them, it would require the property owner of a vacation rental and the host of a vacation rental to sign an affidavit, understanding that they're aware that they cannot rent a vacation rental to someone that's a registered sex offender if they live within 2,500 feet of a playground, a school, or a place where children congregate. And if they rent to a registered sexual offender that's outside that 25-foot dimension, then they would have to be sure that they registered with BSO. Also in 9.3 includes a provision that the host and the property owner are aware that sexual trafficking is also not allowed in the city. There's various laws to enforce, but in this case, now someone could rent to a sexual offender in a vacation rental. This would now mean that they couldn't, and if they did, then they would lose their right to be a vacation rental along with whatever other criminal offenses that might be included.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Mark, can they be forced to register?
You know, I'm not an expert on that. I
Danny,
might
can
ask.
they be forced to register?
That would be hard to tell if they're coming into the city, we never know.
Well, like he says, once we found out that person was a sexual offender, can we force them to register?
Absolutely. We conduct monthly checks of all sexual offenders.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that they can be forced to do that. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve
Second.
9.2.
Call the roll, please.
This is a motion to approve the ordinance on second reading. Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman, Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
9.3, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 16 Vacation Rentals, Section 16-2 Vacation Rentals of the City Code of Ordinances to create regulations and requirements governing sexual offenders' use of vacation rentals and prohibit human trafficking activities in vacation rentals, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. Second reading of this ordinance.
That's the same presentation that you
Yeah,
just gave
same
us.
presentation, although I might want to mention that if the commission adopts 9.2 and 9.3, what we'll do is we'll begin the process to mail out to all of our licensed Airbnb and vacation rental businesses. We'll mail out to them all of the affidavits and the new laws.
I have a question.
Commissioner James?
Would it only go in effect when they renew, or is it some type of way we can make an amendment? Because I really want this to go in effect before the Super Bowl, and I'm not sure when all of the BTRs are renewed. And
It's in effect upon adoption by the commission. That's why we will mail it out. And so
Okay.
they're informed of that. And then every time they renew their license, which is on an annual basis, they'll have to sign the affidavit again.
okay, so you're going to mail out an affidavit.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Let's make sure we mail it out immediately.
Yes.
So, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve 9.3.
Second.
Call the roll, please, with your motion.
Motion to adopt the ordinance on second reading. Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, providing for the contraction from the corporate limits of the City of Dania Beach of approximately 0.387 acres of property located at a portion of tracts 1 and 4, plat of a part of government lot number 1, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 14, page 21 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida, bearing Broward County Property ID number 504-220-01-0011, containing provisions for its implementation and filing with the appropriate governmental agencies, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. Second reading. And the quick summary of this, as I mentioned at the first reading, is this is a request by the people who own the Raleigh Marine to de-annex less than half an acre of the very westernmost boundary of their property, which is now in our city. It happens to be, however, the rest of their property lies in the city of Fort Lauderdale. So they have asked to put all their property together in one city at some point. First, it'll go into Broward County, unincorporated, then they'll have to seek to be annexed into Fort Lauderdale. But It's a very tiny and lengthy strip along the western boundary. It has $800 worth of value of taxes to the city, so there's no significant loss. And again, it's less than half of an acre is involved in this matter.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item.
Call the roll, please.
This is a motion to adopt the ordinance on second reading. Commissioner Brandimart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
5-0.
9.5, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1, Use Regulations, Article 110, Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts to provide for liquor package store as a permitted accessory use to a retail use. Amending Part 3, Special Zoning Districts, Subpart 1, Community Redevelopment Area, CRA 4-Bay Zoning Districts, to provide for liquor package store as a permitted accessory use to a retail use, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective reading. It's the first reading of this ordinance.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. I'm actually going to talk about two items, this item and the next item on the agenda, because they are related, and I'm sure the attorney can read in that heading after we get to that through the presentation. They're both text amendments, and they're both first readings for these applications. The first amendment is regarding accessory uses. So the applicant's requesting to allow liquor package stores as an accessory use to grocery stores throughout the city as a conditional use. The applicant is proposing to allow the accessory use in several zoning districts, including City Center, East Dania Beach Boulevard, mixed use, South Federal Highway mixed use, Gateway mixed use, Community Business District, General Business District, General Commercial District. Regarding the accessory use, the applicant has added a condition of use, which currently there is a list of conditional uses regarding alcohol sales. They're adding a new condition relating the accessory use, and that is that the sale of beer and wine and liquor for off-premise consumption is only conducted as an accessory use to a permitted grocery store, a retail grocery store of at least 27,500 square feet. So it has to be a substantial grocery store, and then an accessory liquor store could be part of that grocery store use. The amendment would allow, for example, Publix on East Dania Beach Boulevard, which is a grocery store only, to have an accessory liquor store where it does not have that use today, and in fact that use isn't permitted in the zoning district, but it would be as an accessory use if this is approved. The second amendment is regarding the hours of sales for alcohol. The applicant's requesting the text amendment to expand those alcohol sales on Sunday mornings. Currently, the Code of Ordinances prohibits the sale of alcohol for all off-site consumption, which is usually package sales, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 12, which is noon. They're asking that accessory liquor stores, when they're accessory to the grocery stores and 27,500 square feet, be allowed to sell that alcohol between 7 a.m. and noon. They've also added a condition, a provision prohibiting the sales of any single-serve containers of alcohol, of liquor, beer, or wine for consumption off-premise. So this is not a single can of beer that's going to be allowed to be sold during that time. And this is only related to those accessory uses to the grocery stores. The Planning and Zoning Board heard the amendment for the accessory use on September 18th. They did not hear the one for the hours of sales because that is in a different section of our Code of Ordinances. It's not in the land development regulations, and they don't have to hear and make a recommendation on that. So at this time, staff's recommending approval of both ordinances on first reading. And I'm here if you have any questions, as is the applicant.
Commissioner James?
Yes. I actually want to thank you. I can remember when this was first brought up, and we still had Smith's store that was there, and the reason why it didn't go through the first time because we didn't figure out a way at the time how to separate the corner stores or the convenience stores from the grocery stores. And so I'm glad we were able to help, our Publixes, our Walmarts, our Walgreens, I don't know, I guess Walgreens already has it. But our grocery stores, they're able to not have to go to Hollywood, but they can actually stay here, and then we don't have to still worry about the issues that we had in our smaller communities, which were the corner stores. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Corinne, a while back when the bank closed down at Winn-Dixie Shopping Center, there was a man came in there applying for the marijuana. And it was supposed to have been read that you got to be 1,000 feet away from any liquor.
It was a pharmacy.
The
Another
pharmacy. So how does this now work out?
Well, it doesn't affect it because the separation was from pharmacy. And in that case, their proximity to the Publix was what came into effect because they were less than 1,000 feet from the Publix pharmacy. Right, so the same, but in that case, the variance was granted.
Yes.
Right. So if there's a limitation on the time period, currently it's valid. They can have that use at that location, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think anyone's moved in yet.
No, they haven't moved in yet. I was just wondering if this affects anything. No. Okay,
Because there's
good.
no separation from alcohol.
Oh, good, all right.
Commissioner Harris?
Corinne, is this going to affect the Lucky's Market in the Piedmont as well, right? It'll be, I mean, it's a separate zoning district show, so.
Right, it's a separate zoning district, so it would not, that zoning district was not one of the zoning districts that were identified
Right.
as an accessory use, and I don't know what the square footage of
Huge.
Lucky's is. Right.
Peter.
I'd have to go back to the DDGs to see if package sales was a permitted use.
I would say it's 50,000 square feet or.
But it wasn't, that zoning district isn't identified in this text amendment.
Can we
So
add
it
it?
would- You'd have to speak to the applicant
Said
and see
no.
if they're amenable
Mark
to
said
that
no.
amendment.
Okay.
Mark said no. It's not allowed in the district.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Lewis with the law firm of Greenspoon Martyr, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. And in regards to your question about adding additional zoning districts, we don't have a problem with additional zoning districts being added. It's not just for us. We want to make sure that it applies into the right zoning districts within the city. So we don't oppose.
I think, doesn't Lucky's, that's one of their selling points, isn't it?
Yes, Lucky
Yeah.
Shop.
Yeah.
So to your question, I understand that the DDGs, which regulates Dania Point and the PMUD, does not allow liquor stores, so the use isn't permitted. And if we were to make any changes, we'd have to go back and re-advertise and kind of start over to add that district into the heading.
But they will be able to have beer and wine. Is that right?
Lucky's?
At Lucky's.
In the
Yes,
store itself.
as part of the
store
retail.
itself.
Yeah, it's just not the
an
package sales.
accessory use with liquor, but just beer and wine.
Right, it wouldn't be a
Gotcha.
liquor, it wouldn't be a liquor store,
Okay.
right?
Okay, gotcha.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
This is a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading. Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
5-0.
Yes, 9-6 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 4 Alcoholic Beverages of the city's Code of Ordinances by amending Article 1 in general, Section 4-1 definitions to define single-serving container, Article 2 operation regulations, Section 418 hours of sale to modify the hours of package sales for liquor, beer, and wine for off-site consumption conducted as an accessory use to a retail store use with a minimum of 27,500 square feet. In Article 2, operation regulations to create Section 4-37, restriction on the sale of single-serving containers and providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date first reading of this ordinance.
Corinne, this is just in conjunction.
Yes.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the
Move the
item.
item.
And the other- Please call the roll.
This is a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading. Commissioner Brandimart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
9-7, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida to amend Chapter 28 of the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 8 Technical Appendix by creating and establishing Article 811 Public Art Program, creating public art program requirements for new development and redevelopment in non-residential mixed-use and multifamily zoning districts, providing for general use provisions for public art program organization, operation, and implementation, providing for a public art fee for the creation, acquisition, and installation of public art in the city, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and further providing for an effective date. This is the first reading of this ordinance.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a text amendment that is city-initiated to establish the public art program for the city. This is first reading. So I've included photos of what public art can look like. There's a lot of sculptures that are meant to be looked at, not necessarily touched. There are sculptures and sidewalks that people can touch and move around and be part of. It could be fountains, it could be different kinds of light installations and light movement, water, photos. There's the bottom corner is actually lights on swings. As the swings are moving, there's kinetic art where the kids can play with it. So it can take a lot of different forms and functions, just food for thought and things to think about, I guess. We did some research. This is just a sample of the different municipalities in our area that we know of that have a public art program. I know there's many more, but these are some of the ones that we looked at. At the request of the City Commission, this ordinance is to create a public art program for the city. Public art can enhance the value, livability, and enjoyment of the city. The recommended ordinance has been modeled after other successful art programs in our region. The public art program calls for a public art master plan, which shall be prepared in coordination with the Creative Arts Council Advisory Board and adopted by the City Commission. The text amendment will define developer contributions as a funding source, and it will establish a separate fund or account for the public art. The City Commission will then review and approve items to be acquired and accepted under the city's public art program. The public art program will require participation by new development in the following ways. There are two options. One is that they pay 1/2 of 1% of the cost of the proposed development project as an in lieu public art fee. We have established a maximum and minimum, that being $250,000 as the maximum and $5,000 as the minimum. That's a range of the project cost between $50 million versus $1 million. So anything that falls below that won't have to participate, and above that will be capped. Placement of the second option is that the developer could place art on the site, on the development site, having a minimum value of 0.25% of the cost of the project, and also participate in the payment of lieu in the equal amount. The City Commission may, we also built in exemptions that the City Commission can make for the public art program. That includes projects consisting of reconstruction of structures which have been damaged by fire, flood, wind, or other natural disasters, schools, churches, and places of worship, and affordable housing projects receiving economic development grants or incentives. This is a text amendment to our land development regulations and requires 2 readings. Currently, the second reading, this is first reading, and the second reading of this ordinance is scheduled for December 10th. It was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board in October, and they recommended approval, and staff's recommending approval of first reading at this time. Are there any questions of staff?
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I guess I'll start from the back up. The exemptions, I would like to add, if I have the consensus on the board, to add a B5 that would exempt a project developed by the city or CRA. Not that we wouldn't have any type of art aspect, but so it won't have to meet those requirements.
That's your prerogative. The programs that we've looked at typically requires usually a higher value for public projects. For counties, Broward County, Miami-Dade, I believe Palm Beach, all require 1% of the construction for city projects or county projects, especially capital improvement projects. And so you can certainly make an exemption, but that would be atypical from the things that we found.
Even though we are willing to exempt like schools and churches and places of worship and other types of projects, why wouldn't we? Not that we wouldn't do one, but I think that it would be a substantial amount of money. Like, for instance, the City Center project. If we could choose what type of art we would want to do, and it may not be as expensive as that, or that's something that we can decide without having to go through these exact requirements. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but we're giving, yeah.
Vice Mayor?
Well, maybe it'll help me understand a little bit more. What's your goal?
To exempt the city or the CRA for these requirements if they do a development, if they developed something.
And what is your concern? That it'll be too much money for them to pay?
Exactly. I mean, it would be coming out of the taxpayers' pockets. I mean, if we are developing it and we're paying for it, because I don't know the structured deal of what's currently going on. I mean, that hasn't come to us yet. We don't know how much we're going to come out of pocket or we're not. And not saying just so we can do whatever we wanted to do as a board.
What do you mean about it coming out of our pocket? What part do you
If we develop something, we're going to.
Let me see if I understand. Wouldn't it be the developers, though, that we're using to develop the project? Wouldn't they be the ones that are paying?
But how are we funding the development? If we are developing, if we are the developer, if we're developing the project.
Well, but the City Center project, for example, is something that's being done. It's a P3, so there's a developer that's actually putting money into it. So if they were going to be doing something, then that would have to be part of their fee structure, not ours.
I understand that, but just because we're doing a P3 doesn't mean that we're not putting any funds into it. Unless you all know something that I don't know.
We wouldn't have to pay it. It would be the developer paying it.
Okay, admitted. I mean,
I'm just trying to I'm trying to understand to see if there's something in there
even
that
if it
might
wasn't a P3, even if it was a different project, it doesn't have to be a P3 for us to have to, if we are developing something that we have to go through these exact requirements. I mean, if you all want to, that's fine. It was just a suggestion. I mean, we're waiving it for schools, we're waiving it for churches, we're waiving it, for affordable housing projects and economic development. I just think we need to see if our CRA or if our city is developing a project. It might not be this year or next year, but this ordinance is going to be there for years to come. So I'm thinking progressively ahead, if there's any other projects that we might be developing that we are paying for, that we would probably want to waive ourselves from that.
Because we fund them.
Mark, can I get you to come up here for a second? So can you kind of speak to the commissioner's concern on that? I mean, because we built in several things into this so that it wasn't going to affect the little guy who was coming to start his first small business. We built in certain things like the cap on there to make sure that we weren't going to impede development in the city. So I want to make sure that we kind of address everyone's
Sure.
concerns.
As it relates to the exemptions that are proposed in the ordinance, we actually went a little bit further than what some of the other cities and organizations do, because what we did add are projects that are for affordable housing, so that cost wouldn't be added to the affordable housing project, or for a project that's desired for economic development, and they're getting incentives like Spirit did, so that it doesn't become a liability on their cost. But I think Corinne made a good point, and that is when it relates to public projects, the local jurisdiction, the governmental entity usually leads the way with a 1% or 2%. In this case, we're just saying that we would be treated just like we would as a private citizen would be treated. So it would be 0.5%. As it relates to the P3 project, I think the commissioners all understand that there may be some cost to the city that hasn't been identified yet, but that the permit, pulling of the permit, the cost of construction, all that's going to be calculated and borne by the developer. And I guess the city could be a part of bearing some of that cost, but as the overall cost of a project. So it would be hard to discern at this point what part of that would actually be something that might be responsible by the city. But to bring it back to a more simple example, that's kind of a complicated example because it's a P3, but a real simple example is, let's say we were going to build a new building for the purposes of just recreational purposes, or maybe it's a new city hall purpose. 0.5% of that construction of the building would be paid into this fund by the city. So when the city establishes its budget, it goes in there like every other cost, and 0.5% of the cost of the construction, even though the real numbers seem to be big and important, but aren't big and important in the overall cost of a project when you start to look at those costs line item by line item, line item by line item.
And again,
So
it's capped off.
It's
at
capped off at $250,000.
Okay. I just wanted to, I mean, I know it took a long time for us to sort of sort through it, so I wanted to paint that picture.
Margaret, can I ask you a question too?
Sure.
And this is, in other cities, how do they do it? I mean, is there an exemption for city?
Yeah, there usually is exemptions for things like natural disasters, rebuilding after a national disaster, and for things like churches and schools.
Right.
We didn't see anywhere where city buildings or were exempted at all.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, what we saw is that a lot of the programs require a larger percentage contribution from the public sector.
We spoke about that.
And I don't want to just interrupt, but is there this isn't for current projects, right? This is for projects going forward. So for example, we've got people that have already, put in bids and they're already doing things. I mean, is it going to include those, or is it going to include, when does it start?
Well, the way it's written now is it would go into effect for anyone that pulls a building permit after the effective date of the ordinance. If this passes in December the 10th, then December the 11th or 12th, when someone brings in their building permit, they would be responsible for this, paying this art in public places fee with their building permit. What we know that we may have to tweak this ordinance a little bit, so we're going to, when we bring it back to you on second reading, it might be fine-tuned. And we'll certainly look at the questions that Commissioner James has.
My main concern is the language in here that speaks about the CAC and the amount of responsibility for guidelines and implementation of a master plan. I really want to find a different solution other than the CAC being the main party and having to do these recommendations. I want to be able to not have delays. They haven't had a quorum in 2 months. That's to start with. I want to create some type of a committee that some of the CAC could sit on with some of our staff so that things could be moved on. But just from the implementation of the CAC, these aren't even their duties. I think we are giving a huge portion of duties to the CAC. And every time an election rolls around, we might have different people there. People resign, people come. I do think the CAC has done a great job, and some of their recommendations and things that they have an eye, so I want them to absolutely be included. But say if we had this ordinance in effect right now, what would we have if we haven't even had a quorum for 2 months from the CAC? So I would like to have some type of a committee, maybe with, I wrote like 2 or 3 CAC members, 2 or 3 members from, or 2 members from maybe from the city, or 2 members from the CRA, maybe even the chamber, or something like that being included to host this type of a committee. Those are my thoughts about that, because I see their name quite often in here for the big portions of the responsibilities, and that concerns me a little bit, just because I've been at the CAC meetings for the past few months, not the past few months, but when they were having quorums, and that's concerning to me.
There's two important components to this ordinance. One is that it would create a public art fund and an account. The second thing is that it would require the city to do a public art master plan, and with that, guidelines. That second component, the creating of the master plan and recommendation on the guidelines, what we had structured here would be that the CACB, but if the commission wants to mix that up a little bit differently, that's understandable. But we think it's important to have a body that would review a master plan and those guidelines, make their recommendation, much like the Planning and Zoning Board does, to the city commission. But then as it comes to implementing the actual plan and acquiring art, installing art, that would be left to the city commission, so.
Commissioner Harris has been waiting. Commissioner Harris?
So the ordinance as it is now would have an effective date of 6 months from now, let's say? Is that possible in the second reading?
Well, I think that's something that I've heard just recently, and my response has been that we'll look into that and other questions that we're going to hear tonight and come back with a refined ordinance and make a
'cause
presentation.
My take on that is it would incentivize developers to get their projects in within the next 6 months. So, I mean, not to diminish the amount of the fund, but as you know, that everybody knows we're in a severe growth period now, and you know, I hate to, what I want to say, have an additional line item for a developer that could be up to $250,000 without, you know, it would be great in 6 months if we could, you know, put that in our ordinance, but to just put it out there and not have anybody know about it, I think is a little punitive. But I'm for it. I mean, I wrote it 5 years ago and gave it to the CRA when Dan Murphy was there. So Raquel probably doesn't even know that I wrote it based on, and you know, we talked about it, I wrote it based on the Seattle AIPP.
Yeah.
So it never went anywhere, so I'm glad it's here now.
I mean, the matter that which you're talking about now is something that we'll look into
Sure.
and bring back any kind of recommendations to the commission for second reading.
Vice Mayor?
So, you know, I appreciate Commissioner James' feedback about the, you know, her concerns regarding how we were going to work that master plan. You and I discussed that, and I had very similar concerns as well. So I think that we can maybe scale that back a little bit. There's lots of room for different levels of involvement, and I think that can be easily resolved. As to Commissioner Harris's concern, I also think, you know, it's appropriate to you know, we can look at a date that would make sense, but we have gotten a good response from the developers who understand that this will fundamentally change how Dania Beach looks in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So, but I think those two things can be easily addressed in the second reading.
Commissioner James?
Yes, are we going to come to a consensus on any of these things to be addressed? Like, what do we feel that would be a fair date, or are we just going to bring something back? Like, I mean, you know, Commissioner Harris is saying 6 months, and Vice Mayor is saying we're going to look into a date, but what would be something that we can discuss right now on what do you feel fair? I personally feel like 6 months is a very long time, and there are certain developments that we will miss out on in having some of the revenue go into a art and public places fund. Do I think we need to give some, do I think it needs to be, when this is adopted, I'm not sure, but I definitely am not in favor of 6 months. A couple months, a few months, the beginning of the year, the 1st of January 2020, something like that maybe, but 6 months, absolutely not.
Actually, Commissioner Harris has his last. Oh, no.
I mean, any new developments in the ordinance would come and be presented to us before the second reading, is that correct?
I'm sorry.
I mean, if we put a date certain in there, it'll be in the second reading.
Yes, 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 yes. I mean, what
This
we'll
is
be able
just
to do
on
is.
first reading.
What we're going to be able to do is, we'll be able to kind of we'll investigate further what projects we see coming forward over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. And then we'll understand what projects might be affected and how they'll be affected. And then what I'll do is I'll contact those developers so we can kind of discuss this with some more facts involved.
Okay. This is the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item on the first reading.
Second.
Please call the roll.
This is to adopt the ordinance on first reading. Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Udman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you.
9.8, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1 Use Regulations, Article 110 Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts, Section 110-20 List of Permitted, Special Exception and Prohibited Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, creating Section 110-320 Mobile Food Vending Conditions of Use, Article 115 Industrial Districts Permitted, Prohibited, Special Exception Uses in Conditions of Use, Section 115-40 Schedule of Permitted Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, amending Part 3 Special Zoning Districts, Subpart 1 Community Redevelopment Area, CRA Form-Based Zoning Districts, Article 302 Detailed Use Regulations, Section 302-10 Permitted, Special Exception and Prohibited Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, amending Part 6 to develop review procedures and requirements, Article 675 Temporary Use and Special Event Permits, to provide for mobile food vendor events, and further amending Part 7 Code Administration, Article 725 Definitions, Articles Section 725-30 Terms to provide for mobile food vendors, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date, first reading of this ordinance.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This text amendment is regarding food trucks, mobile food vendors. This is first reading. On December 2018, the City Commission agenda under discussion and possible action, the Commission discussed the need to consider an ordinance for food trucks. In February of this year, the Commission continued an item to allow staff time to further refine the proposed amendments. The Planning and Zoning Board did hear the item on March. In April, the City Commission held a public hearing recommending on the recommendation of food trucks. After discussion and deliberation, the approval or denial of the ordinance was deferred until a subsequent date, which brings us to today. At the request of the Commission, staff's proposing to allow food trucks with limitations in the city. Currently, all mobile food vendors, including food trucks, are prohibited unless they are part of a special event. Several changes are proposed to allow food trucks in the city with regulations that are specified. They're kind of threefold in terms of how we're breaking down the ordinance. The first is there are definitions. The second is the special events, and the third is mobile food vendors. So in the definition section of the ordinance, we identify and define a mobile food vendor and define a mobile food vendor event. With regards to special exceptions, this amendment will add the total number of special events permitted for mobile food vendors to 8. The food trucks associated with special events will continue to be allowed limited 4 times per year. The third section is the mobile food vendor or the food trucks itself. We're proposing to allow the food trucks to be allowed in 4 zoning districts: City Center, General Commercial District, the IROM, and the IROM AA zoning districts. And these are the locations in the city. The colored areas are those districts located within the city. Some of the conditions of uses that we're placing on, or that we're proposing for these food vendors, is that they be located only on private mixed-use, commercial or industrial properties on arterial corridors with written approval of the property owner, that they be separated 200 feet from any existing single-family home or restaurant during the hours of operation for the restaurant, that they be located a minimum of 10 feet from any right-of-way or sidewalk, that they not block access required of required parking for the business, that they not disrupt vehicle or pedestrian circulation, that they not located in required handicap parking, fire lanes, or loading zones, and they not use the same location for more than 3 consecutive days. Some of the conditional uses, the prohibited uses that are associated with the food vendors include no more than 4 hours per location, operating outside the hours between 9 a.m. and midnight, operating any type of amplified sound system or playing music of any kind, selling of alcohol, selling or providing of alcohol, use or distribution of styrofoam containers or cups or plastic straws, utilizing freestanding signage, except for one freestanding menu sign would be a permitted use. And food trucks must clean the site of any garbage, debris, litter within 30 minutes of the last sale of their operation. This ordinance includes a sunset provision that suspends the ordinance January of 2022. That gives us a period of time to use the code, see how it operates. If there's some changes that we need to make, we can make it at that time and reinstate the ordinance. This will allow, I think I just said that, the proposed ordinance would establish, there'll be an accompanying resolution, should this ordinance pass, establishing the administrative fees that go along with these uses. This is a text amendment, and it does require 2 public hearings in front of the City Commission. This is first reading. In March of 2019, Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of the amendment, and at this time, staff's recommending approval and discussion of the ordinance.
Commissioner James.
Yes, what happens if the food, is it a possibility that a food truck has an alcohol or beer and wine license?
I don't know the answer to that, but under this ordinance, they would be prohibited from selling or distributing.
That's why I'm asking,
Right.
because what happens if
I don't know
they
that
have
you
one
can,
of the-
because you would have to sell alcohol, you have to follow city laws, and we have separation requirements. So I don't know that it would be such an easy thing to establish in a mobile business.
Okay. And what are the fees that will be associated? I remember that was a big one last time, and we were saying like it kind of didn't make sense, the amount of fees that they would have to pay in order to come there and be a food truck. Are the fees the same?
We haven't really established those yet, but we're going to bring them forward with second reading. They would be a certificate of use that would have to be associated with it for sure. And then if there's any inspections to follow, those would be additional fees. But we would lay those out. We'll be working on those and bring them forward with second reading.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, did you have something? No? Okay. This is a public hearing, or is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
This is a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading. Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
The next several items are known as quasi-judicial items. Anybody who's going to address the commission, other than attorneys, have to be sworn in as required by law. So anybody's going to speak for Panda Express, Inc., or for anybody on the outdoor dynamics, there's 2 matters, including staff. Anybody's going to speak has to be sworn. Swear or affirm testimony you give, be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And commissioners, as I call these, if you've been contacted by any, either for or against an application or a resolution, please disclose that. First is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the site plan SP 11719 submitted by CPH Inc. on behalf of Panda Express Inc. for property located at 121 South Point Drive in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A. A copy which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This application is for site plan approval for an out parcel within Dania Point for Panda Express. The zoning of the property is PMUD, Planned Mixed Use District. It is in the Regional Activity Center, and there are no outstanding code violations. As I said, it is an out parcel in Dania Point. The property is located on the west side of South Point Drive, and it's north of the Burger King site. The parcel is currently vacant, and the applicant is proposing a freestanding fast food Panda Express restaurant with drive-through service and on-site parking. So this is the location of the out parcel. Sterling Road is to the south, and this is what used to be 18th Avenue. Burger King's right there in the corner, and this is their parcel. that's currently vacant. This is the layout of the site. You can see the cars that queue around the building for the drive-through. This is the elevation of their proposed building. The project did go through the Development Review Committee on July 25th and in September. There are some outstanding DRC comments that are fairly typical at this point. They have a short list, which the applicant is aware of. They will need to be addressed prior to the issuance of the building permit. Those are identified in your staff report and in the resolution. Should the resolution be approved, they will automatically be conditions of approval. And at this time, staff's recommending approval of the resolution with those outstanding DRC comments made as conditions of the approval. And I know that the applicant should be here if you have any questions of staff or the applicant.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion, this is a motion to approve adopt the resolution, sorry. Commissioner Brandimart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
The next two items are related, so I'll call them together. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving a site plan, SB 7919, request variance VA 14719, VA 14919, and VA 15019 requests, and design exception OT 14819. The request submitted by the property owner, Outboard Dynamics LLC, for the property located at 3998 Southwest 22nd Avenue in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, is legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution. Providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date, and the companion resolution is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving Outboard Dynamics plat PL 12819, submitted by Outdoor Dynamics LLC for the property located at 3998 Southwest 22nd Avenue in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is an application for a site plan. There are also several other applications that go with it, including plat, variances, design variations as well. The property is zoned IROM AA with an industrial land use designation, and there's no outstanding code violations on the property. The subject property is located west of Ravenswood Road and south of Southwest 39th Street on 5 vacant parcels of land that were owned by Broward County several years ago because Broward County became owners because of the proximity to the airport and the runway. They're approximately 1.5 acres in size and have been vacant for several years. The applicant recently purchased those properties from the county as part of an auction in an effort to redevelop those parcels, which is what's happening now. The applicant is proposing to construct 3 buildings, including 6,000 square foot storage, almost 2,000 square foot showroom, 13,500 square feet of service repair of outboard motors. This is the location of those parcels. Today, you can see to the right is the east where I-95, the railroad tracks, and then Ravenswood Road is, and then those parcels. The plat is there. The applicant is having to plat those properties. It is an old plat, so they're replatting the properties. In the process, they're also dedicating a piece of a missing roadway down on the southern parcel where that dedication was never made. With regards to the site plan, this is not the best drawing. There's one building here, a second building, and then their third building is to the south of that parcel. This is a rendering of what those buildings would look like. I believe this is the elevation from Ravenswood Road. As I mentioned, they are required to plat the property. They will be unifying those 5 parcels as one development site. And I talked about those other applications as well that are needing to come forward. There are variances that are required for this parcel, and I've broken them down into the categories with regards to the shade trees. The applicant is requesting to provide 0% shade trees where the code requires 40%. The applicant has indicated that the variance is based on the declaration of covenants, restrictions, and easements on the property established by the county because of the proximity to the airport. They're not allowing that property to have shade trees. They don't want the height, they don't want the birds that go along with it because of the airplanes that go by. So this is necessitating this variance. The perimeter buffer trees is essentially the same thing. The declaration of covenants, restrictions, the easements is restricting their ability for the perimeter trees as well. The stacking area, the applicant's proposing a 17-foot, 10-inch stacking area between the property line and the first parking stall. The Land Development Code requires 25 feet because that's the amount of space required for a vehicle. So a vehicle could stop on the property while the car in that first parking spot moves out, just so that it doesn't block, that car doesn't end up in the street blocking the roadway. It is such a tight site that they're asking for this variance. In addition to that, they were doing so, asking for this variance as opposed to reducing the parking. If they eliminated a parking spot, they could meet this dimensional requirement, but they're proposing to meet their parking requirement instead and have as much parking as they can on site. The variances, as you know, have conditions, criteria identified in the Land Development Code. The applicant has identified how their requests are consistent with each of these criteria, and that justification is provided in your backup. With regards to the site plan, as you know, the applicant is proposing 3 separate buildings. The staff did encourage the applicant to contact the neighbors adjacent to them, as well as any property owners. There's no residential out there. I think the applicant can address how they've made those efforts. There really isn't much on 2 sides of them. I think there's a couple businesses to the east and the south, perhaps. The city engineer has also reviewed the traffic statement that was provided by the applicant, and they've determined that their statement is complete and accepted. As I mentioned, this item did go through DRC in May and July. They have several outstanding DRC comments that they're aware of. They're in the staff report as well as the resolution. Should you approve the resolution, those conditions must be addressed before issuance of the building permit. At this time, staff's recommending approval. However, everything has to be approved. The plat has to be approved, the variances, in order to approve the site plan. So if one is denied, the site plan dies. But if you approve them all, then the site plan can be approved as well. And the applicant is here if you have any questions of them.
Commissioner Harris?
My opinion would be that anybody that wants to build anything in the IROM AA should be allowed to do it because it's an undeveloped area and there's so many restrictions on it that this looks like it would be a good fit. In lieu of the fact also they bought it from Broward County to develop it, the IROM west of the airport. So that's my opinion. Can I make a motion? Or
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Stephanie Toothaker on behalf of Outboard Dynamics LLC. I do have a PowerPoint, but as usual, Corinne has done such an incredibly thorough job, has taken you through all of the variance requests and the design guideline requests and the site plan. They really can be grouped into every request that we are asking for is related to the easement that Broward County has, the aviation easement that Broward County has over the property. It creates a unique situation. We did submit a full narrative that goes through the justifications for variances, why we believe we meet those, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Robert Vick is the architect, he's here as well, but we thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm not going to drag you through essentially the same presentation that Corinne already gave. Thank you.
All right, Corinne, do we need the plan approved first? Is that the? Yes. Okay, it wasn't put that way in the agenda, so that's an oversight, we forgot. Okay, so first if you would vote on the plat, which is 911, approval of the plat.
Motion to approve the plat.
Okay.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Osmond?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then the resolution for the site plan variances and special exceptions, please.
Motion to approve the site plan with the variations.
No.
Second?
I second it. I thought you had to ask.
Second.
I didn't know if you had to ask the public first or.
No, we
Just goes around.
already did.
We did them combined.
Both?
but-
Yeah.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is discussion and possible action. Review and approve city commission meeting dates for 2020. City clerk?
I don't have much to say other than you have 3 major holidays that impact commission meetings in 2020. And those meetings are April 14, 2020, November 24th, 2020, and December 22nd, 2020. As the memo in the backup indicates, the April meeting conflicts with the Passover holiday, of course, November meeting with the Thanksgiving holiday, and the December meeting with the Christmas holiday.
Commissioner Harris?
I just wanted to mention one thing. In a situation where a holiday like yesterday precedes a commission meeting on today, Tuesday, if that happens again, so we could move the commission meeting to one day later to the Wednesday, because there was a lot of questions yesterday, and everybody was on a holiday, even at the county level. So there's really no one to ask any questions to. That's just my thoughts. Just one day difference from a Tuesday to a Wednesday, if there's a holiday preceding the Tuesday meeting.
Well, you will have Memorial Day, Monday the 25th precedes your May 26th meeting. Labor Day, Monday the 7th precedes your September 8th meeting. You'll be canceling several meetings.
No, I don't mean cancel it, just move it.
Or moving several.
Move it one more day.
Okay, that's up to you.
Let me make a suggestion. I think part of the problem is that because the agenda came out at the normal time, maybe if we know that there is a holiday that's coming up, is there any way we get the agendas out like a day early? So that this way, so that this way people see it before they go away, or they have time to ask questions if they have questions. That might, instead of changing the date of the meeting, because I know we had a lot of confusion over the last couple of months when we've moved meetings around different dates, and I hate to do that again if we don't have to, if there might be another solution.
Well, that's why we hired a marketing company to get the word out and the information out faster. So if we move it by one day, then everybody will know. No? Yes? No? Yes? No? Yes? Yes?
Everything that I heard from everybody was that they were upset about us moving the meetings around because there was confusion. And I'd really rather if we didn't move them around.
Everything that I heard today is that there was nobody in City Hall yesterday to answer any questions because it was a Monday holiday. I mean, and I must have had 50.
Take consensus on it and move to the next thing. Yeah, so take consensus on it to see if people want to do it, and let's move to the next thing. Yeah, they say yes or no, and then.
I don't want to.
I don't want to either.
I don't want to either.
They're all creatures of habit, and they were already angry about the Monday meetings.
I think if something
And they're shaking their head,
Yeah.
yes.
I think
So
if there's
voters,
something-
stick with what you got.
I think if there's something that comes up with a specific holiday
Yeah.
and we have an issue, we can always address it at that time.
you're
But right, I don't want to automatically assume. I'm sorry. We have the city manager.
Well, I was just speaking with the clerk, and we can commit to get you the agenda instead of on the Thursday, on the Wednesday, so you'll have time to look at it, anybody that wants to call us. You know,
The biggest thing is so that it's out for the public. That's the biggest thing, because I know they have emails that go out that tell people that the agenda's up. And I think it needs to be out to the public maybe a little bit earlier when there's a holiday.
I support the mayor's
Yeah.
decision
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's a good compromise. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, I guess also.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. What are we doing for the summer months? Are we doing any of those days?
You generally don't decide that until like March of the new year is when that's brought to you.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we really should nail
you said
down
2020, so I was.
the regular meetings for 2020, and then that'll come to you in March.
Got it. Thank you.
With regard to the November and December meetings, this year we only have one meeting, correct?
Yes.
So would that make the most sense to do the same thing for that? Yeah. Do we have consensus on that?
Yes.
Yes. And what did we do for Passover last year? Or this year? Yeah.
This year, it was your second meeting that conflicted and you canceled it.
So we only had one meeting in April.
Correct.
Would we want to do that again?
Yes.
Yes.
I want Passover off.
Okay. So we have consensus on that. Okay. All right, commission comments. Commissioner Brandemari.
Oh, yes, I have a comment, and thank God there's some witnesses here in this room.
the city attorney called me up and told me that he had gotten messages from at least 10, this is going to crack me up, from seniors that were at my last meeting that Commissioner James and Bill were both at, talking about politics, voting, and giving out paraphernalia regarding to voting. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in this room that will tell you it was bull crap. And that really ain't the word I want to use. And so those 10 people that called you, I'm asking you to please quit the club. I really don't need you. I really don't. Go home and cause trouble somewhere else. Eric, you were there. Did Commissioner James get up and be political? Did Bill Harris get up and be political? Thank you. Carol? Sabota? Leslie? Craig? Never happened. So whoever you are, there are a lot of other clubs in the city that really need you to join them. I have a lot of members, almost 200. So go join the other clubs. It's all right with me.
Commissioner Harris?
I know we were looking for a date to have a CRA workshop, but I just want to mention that December 2nd and 3rd, I'm at a transportation seminar with Rutgers University, so the fees and everything are paid for by the MPO, so.
December what?
2nd and 3rd.
Oh, the 3rd was going to be one of the meetings I was going to go to with the mayor. I was thinking for you. So I have to write that out.
And also that there's some ongoing issues with the airport and the noise and the Part 150 and the runway that I think we came up with an idea to possibly make a visit with our lobbyists to Washington, D.C. when we get the results of what was happening today with the mayor and commissioner and the city manager from another city out west of us, and get some direction, because they're representatives of the Broward League of Cities as well, to see what kind of flight path they're on. That's all.
Commissioner James?
Yes, I'm going to start with the place at Dania Beach. I wanted to wait until the cameras and all the people that came for the theatrics left. I'm really concerned about us developing dense, not us developing, but allowing these developments that are very dense in population here, because it kind of seems as if we don't have a hold to what's going on with this one. And this is 8 stories. What happens when we have more developments that are more stories or even the same? What is going on there? I mean, none of us really have any answers. We don't know what happened the first time around or the second time around. It's very uncomfortable and in a very unfair situation, me speaking, because I because I live there as well. And so not being there to make sure that I'm speaking to media or answering all the residents' questions, but to actually be a part of the situation that's happening is kind of unfair. And I'm not sure what our staff is doing, but I am asking that whatever it is, we don't allow an inspection to say that the pool is okay again until we find out what has happened with it in the first place. Because from what I was told, they're saying that the pool was inspected and declared it was okay. I don't know how it could be declared okay when we don't really know what happened the first time around. And so I'm very concerned with what's going on there. It's not a good look for the city. It's not a good look for people that are coming here and reviewing, the things that we are building. It's a lot of misinformation that floats around, obviously, about everything that is negative. And so I just wanted to voice my concerns on the situation that's happening there, because it's terrible. I mean, people are allowed back in, but that building smells like mildew. And the carpets are wet, and it's just not a good situation to have your kids or your pets in, and everyone just doesn't have money to stay at the discounted $150 hotel a night. And I just think that we need to be careful as a city, our involvement in it and what we're putting out there, and what we're allowing to say it's okay before we have the root of the issue. I'll continue to say there's no way now I really believe that building is safe with all of the water that continues to go there. I mean, the leak has really never stopped, especially in like the weight room and things like that. So it's a number of issues that I'll send via email, but I wanted to make sure I'm on record again saying that I'm still very concerned about that building. The Fall Festival was greatly attended, and it was the largest one as of yet. I'm hoping to see one year where, the cars go completely around the field. There was a lot of enhancements, and so a huge shout out to the Parks and Recreation Department and BSO and Fire and the community who really came out to support that event. It was a great event. Firebirds also is just, I just have to, I had never been to a Firebirds restaurant until I came to this one. And then I didn't realize how many Firebirds there actually are. But the food was absolutely amazing. I am so impressed with all of the different restaurants and stuff that continue to come into Dania Point, and I'm so happy that we don't have to travel to other cities to be able to enjoy all the things that are happening there. And the last thing, and again, thanks to Parks and Recreation for the Dolphins coming out. Some of my son's football team who are from the community were able to enjoy seeing some of the Dolphins. I wasn't able to be there, but I'm very grateful that we're having, events that are really touching the core of our youth and that are encouraging them to, do the right thing, and they see people that they may see on TV that they can actually touch tangibly. So I'm thankful for that. And the last thing, I'm wishing my son the best of luck. He has his Super Bowl game on Saturday. And so I'm always the crazy mom, and so I'll be there bright and early, 8:30 in the morning to cheer him on. Hopefully he'll bring back a Super Bowl. And even though he plays for the PAL in Hollywood, they have like 7 kids that actually live in the city of Dania Beach. So good luck, boys.
Vice Mayor?
Mine, again, only concerns the what happened on Saturday night. First and foremost, I want to thank city staff. Several of them were there past 10 o'clock at night, helping resolve the situation and to breach the communication gaps between property management and the residents. There was a good 15, 25 residents who were just sitting in the lobby trying to figure out exactly what they were going to do. And I spoken with the city manager, that there needs to be an internal investigation, and she was on board with all of that. And my request that I want to emphasize is that the commission receives that information in a timely fashion when it's completed, because I think there's more than just one or two of us who feel like something's not right, and you don't want to speculate on what that not rightness is, but at the same time, I'm not going to invalidate any of those residents' feelings that it doesn't feel safe to go in there. It doesn't feel safe to stay there when they have a child, a small child, or their dogs there. I know I most certainly would not stay there, and I know I most certainly would not advise my friends and my family to stay there for those reasons. So until we get to the bottom of it, whatever that bottom reveals itself to be, I would just like to say we're waiting. We're really waiting for that report. I felt so badly when they came down last time, and they just vented what their concerns were, and they all said the same thing. This place isn't safe, and we just kind of nodded our heads like bobbleheads, because what else can you really say? Again, when you don't have an answer, all you can say is, I'm so sorry you're going through this. But the second time around, I asked them, will you please email me what your experience was? And they did. And beyond the two events that I never knew about, these other little structural things they were telling me about these little leaks. I heard something about the leak with the workout rooms. So there's clearly some issues there that have escaped, and this doesn't sound like a safe building. So for whatever the responsibility is on our end, I want to make sure that no crack, no line is overlooked. And I want us to be incredibly thorough with this. And so I look forward to reading that report so that we can give that information over to them. Thank you.
Okay, a few things. First, with regard to the place at Dania Beach, I am glad that BSO has opened an investigation. I think that's necessary. We need to look at all aspects of this and the potential for there being other problems that are not structural, but maybe negligence. And that's important that we look at it. I know that the city manager is also opening up an administrative investigation, going back and looking at the original paperwork and everything else to make sure that everything was done properly. So I'm glad that we're doing that as well. I do also want to thank the hotels and I think Publix brought by food again. The hotels have made some concessions and were willing to at least lower prices. There were a lot of hotels that were booked because it was a long weekend, and it is the weekend anyway when this happened for the second time. But they were willing, those that did have rooms were willing to reduce their prices and try to allow people to come in. So at least it's not enough, but it's something. And at least it was something that could be done. So I want to thank them for that. The next thing I have, I had a conversation with the principal at Collins Elementary. We made a donation to Collins Elementary last year. And it was supposed to be money going towards mentoring and bullying programs. But that's not really where their need is. And Dr. Jackson asked if there was a way that we could, instead of earmarking it towards that, if we could earmark it instead, if they could use it towards a program called iReady that they use, which is a computer-based program. And hold on a second, I have more details about it. I can tell you about it. I bet you do. Well, for those who don't know, it is a computer-based program that, where did it go?
It teaches them math and reading.
Right, teaches them math and reading. Here it is. I got it. Okay. Interactive online learning environment designed to assess students and provide individualized instruction based on each one's unique needs. They use it primarily for math diagnostics 3 times a year. And the results are used to develop a learning path to accelerate and or remediate students and thereby meeting their instructional needs. So Dr. Jackson just asked if we could, I don't know that we have to, but so that they can use the money that was donated, it's already past the budget, that they could use it for that purpose. And I asked our city attorney about it, and he indicated it might be good just to get consensus from the city commission to ensure that everybody's okay with that. Everybody okay with it? Okay, so we have consensus for that. Again, also I wanted to talk about the Miami Dolphins coming to C.W. Thomas Park to run drills with the kids. The faces, the kids were so excited and so happy. And I mean, even Bobby McCain was there. It wasn't like it was just like rookies. We actually had a named player, like somebody that everybody knows. And it was really good. And they had a really good time. And I thought Katia did a phenomenal job with interviewing everybody and really taking some great pictures. And there she is. And putting the whole thing together. And she got everybody involved that was there. So it was good to see. Speaking of the Miami Dolphins working with Dania Beach, this Sunday, okay. We've made some arrangements through Parks and Recreation. There is a Dolphins home game this weekend against the Buffalo Bills. And there's how many kids going? Maybe I can bring Eric up here. He can tell everybody what's going on with it. It's very exciting for the kids.
Good evening again. Yes.
Jeez. Whoa.
Not that I need a mic, but yes, good evening again. We are going to a Dolphin game this Sunday. We have our bus, charter bus ready. We have 50 kids. And we are partnering with Hollywood again, so we're going to take 10 of those kids from the football team in Hollywood with us. We'll have their parent consent forms all ready to go. We have our chaperones in place, so will be there. And I love the fact that those kids will get a NFL experience after the game, where they'll get a chance to shake hands with some of the stars, some of the NFL players. So we are ready to go.
Great. Are there any, can any of the commission go? I already have tickets, so it's.
Yeah, it's sold out. It's sold out on this one.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Chaperones? No? Okay. Okay, and that's all I have. Thank you. Next item is appointments, Complete Count Advisory Committee. Anybody?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Sherika Brown. And if you could pass her information to the right for the clerk, please. Thank you. This was for Complete Count Committee, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else have anyone?
Well, what are we going to do if we never get, like, this is like the third appointment, and that's just, I looked at the appointments, and it's pretty sad for this one. So what are we going to do if we never get that? What is our plan B?
I don't know that we have one. We're required to
We need to get
do this,
Is
aren't
Mark
we?
still here?
You want to be on it?
Mark went home. He's not feeling well.
Okay, so Mark is the one who's really explained this to me about how the county has their resources set up, and to whatever extent we round up some people, he's going to sort of connect them. Are you coming? Do you know anything?
Do you know about this? Come on up.
Yes. He explained it to me very well, because I said the same thing. We've done several rounds of commission meetings, and I think we have 4 or 5 people, so.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy. I've been attending some of the meetings at the county. The county has just recently hired a PR firm. They're just kind of getting up to speed themselves. In fact, the last meeting, they were kind of saying how they were going to take a break through the holidays. They were trying to pace themselves because they really need to gear up at the beginning of the year. March, April is when they're really going to, have their majority of their effort. So everyone is kind of in the same place we are, kind of still preparing. We have the resolution passed, creating the committee. So I think we still have time. I don't think it's time to despair yet. Everyone's kind of getting their ducks in a row, getting ready to, the first of the year, really start hitting the ground and start moving.
Okay, and we can more aggressively try and find
I think
people
if we
to
made a budget for it, we can find some people. I think if we made a budget for it, we could find some people.
Creative Arts Council Advisory Board, Commissioner James? Okay. Next item is administrative report. City Manager?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Commission, residents that are here, and city staff. So we have a confirmed meeting Tuesday, November the 19th, with Virgin Brightline. We will depart from City Hall at 10:30 a.m. We're also in the process of setting up a meeting with the Tri-Rail Coastal Link, and we'll inform you of that. Last week, we had a really great meeting, and the Vice Mayor was able to join us. I was meeting with her, and I was still finishing up with our new Under Sheriff, Colonel Nicole Anderson. And basically, her love is kids and seniors. So there's going to be a lot of things that she wants to do in regards to working in our community, for us to be a safer community, but to engage with a lot of really interesting and unique programming. December the 5th, we have our Parks team presenting our annual tree lighting ceremony, and that will take place at 6 p.m. at City Hall. I know that Eric has been working really hard to really put something special together for all of you. This past November the 4th, we welcomed 2 new leaders to our team, and I'd like to introduce them to you, and that's our new Human Resources Director, Kristen Milligan, who's here. And she has really hit the ground running. She was with us before, and we were very lucky to be able to get her back. I mean, an extremely passionate person who really wants to lead the way with best practices. We are going to really be Broward's best cities when it comes to human capital and investing in our human capital. With that said, we have another addition to our team, and we were able to steal them from the city of Lighthouse Point, and that's our new finance director, Frank DePaulo. And again, Frank DePaulo was someone that was with us here before about 7 or 8 years ago. And we were very, very fortunate to be able to get him back. He really is a leader in his industry, very much involved with his professional organization, and just going to be fantastic. I mean, a tremendous duo with Adam Siegel and the rest of the fantastic team that we have at our finance department. And I also want to take the time to thank Adam for stepping up. And he did the job of 3 people, and he did a fantastic job, Adam. So, you know, our city team is running on all cylinders, and it's just a tremendous team effort and very, very seamless relationship between one and the other. I also wanted to let you know that on a weekend, we have Katia and Candido work together to be able to put together this brochure that we just passed out. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We basically did that over the weekend. It was 3 days of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Katia and Candido working together to be able to have a really, you know, something to bring to the Realtors Association breakfast of mayors. I know Commissioner James was there, Commissioner Harris was there, and our mayor was there. And we were really the centerpiece of that Realtors Convention. So this is just what can be done on a weekend. We're really, really looking forward to this new company that's going to be working with us with graphics, and we're going to put together a professional document so everybody can see all the great things that are happening in our city. At the ICMA conference, and thank you also because you all take a lead role in supporting our professional development. It was really a fantastic conference in Nashville, a lot of art in public places. And I got to meet a really good team from Fort Collins, Colorado. And they have an innovation fund. And they put it every year in their budget, and it's something that I want to discuss with you and the possibility of us incorporating this. But this is more to come when I fully discuss this with you, but very, very exciting. And I also wanted to let you know that we've been working on the Nyberg Swanson House. Even though on the inside there's a lot of challenges in regards to mold and lack of past maintenance, but we're moving forward to make sure that the exterior looks very, very presentable. We were working with our team in the CRA in ensuring that all over where we're going to have Dania After Dark, we make sure that the landscaping is nice and fresh. We've painted our fire hydrants the city colors. So we look forward to the work that we're going to do on the exterior. But we were able, thanks to our city clerk, to find out that you all adopted back in December of last year a resolution for the city to enter into contract with Architect1.com for professional and architectural services of the Nyberg Swanson. They specialize in historical restoration. So I will be meeting with them next week and with our team to work out a scope of work and to get a quote to begin the restoration process of the Nyberg Swanson House. We also have very, very good news from Fire Chief Sergio Pelissar through his fantastic relationship and the relationship that we've been able to continue to build with Broward Chief Fernandez, which was formerly with the city of Miami. We will be getting our new EMS fire truck, and it will be here December the 10th. There's an official ceremony called the push-in ceremony. It's every time we receive a replacement vehicle. And so we want to include all of the commission. So that'll be December the 10th, and we want to do it at 5 o'clock before our CRA meeting so everybody's involved, and we'll send you all the details. But it's very, very exciting that we're going to be getting this brand new vehicle, and even more exciting is the fact that we won't have to pay for it until next year. So this concludes my report. Thank you.
Before I get to the city attorney, I forgot we need a motion to approve the appointment from the vice mayor.
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor, one more thing, because I know it's been very challenging. I know you guys are all very busy, but we were able to communicate with the Ron Book office Rhonda Brown and Kelly Millette. And the one last opportunity that we have for Tallahassee will be January the 21st, which is a Tuesday, returning Wednesday, January the 22nd. And this is for us to pretty much advocate for everything, home rule, everything that we put in with the grants that our Parks Director has put in our water projects as well. So if you can look at your schedule, I know that's your birthday week, Commissioner Brandon Martin.
I work.
You work. So anyway, just let me know. Chris will be reaching out, but January 21st and January 22nd, and that's Tuesday and Wednesday. And that concludes my report.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, I just have a question. Anna, what is a push-in?
Yes, Commissioner.
I mean, come on,
Chief.
We're not pushing this truck.
No. Chief, please, I know it's been a while since we've gotten new vehicles, so it's very, very exciting. So can you brief the
All right,
commission?
so the push-in is basically a tradition that dates back to the 1800s when we used to have horses, and that's what led our fire trucks. So anytime you place a new vehicle in service, you push it in, you wet it down. So that's what basically a push-in is. It's a tradition in the fire service that we're going to keep alive here in Dania.
Who's pushing this truck?
All of us.
Yes.
Don't worry, it'll be in neutral, and there'll be a driver in there, so don't worry.
Can I nominate my husband to be my proxy?
Sure.
Yeah, right.
It's mostly a ceremonial thing.
Yeah, I know. Okay. City Attorney.
Okay, at the October 28th last commission meeting, I gave the opinion mistakenly, apparently, that it would only take one commissioner if they chose to enter a disciplinary report or any kind of document into the files for the people that report to you, such as the CRA director, the manager, or myself. In conferring with experienced labor counsel, because I don't pretend to be labor counsel, I'm experienced in it, these people have over 50 years combined municipal experience. Mr. Chiroff, who represents the city in a number of things, and the fellow who works at Weiss Sirota, my last law firm, they both concur that although there is no case law on this, there's no administrative rulings on it, it would take 3 votes, or at least 3 commissioners, to have a consensus to put something in any one of our personnel files if it's a disciplinary matter. So I advised you all of this when I discovered it, as soon as I knew it, but I said I would report it to you at this meeting, so I regret that was an error, and it teaches me to make sure if I don't know the answer definitively, to wait until I do. I rarely have that problem, but in this case I did. And secondly, since we're forgetting about it, because we're just caught up into it, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I know for this city, with all the development that's going on, we really have a lot to be grateful for, as well as all the other things in our personal lives. But the way the city has grown since I've been here to see it, it's really a joy to live and be part of this, and to see so much more that's coming. So I am grateful, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yes, Miss Attorney Ansber, listen, I'm glad that you got that clarified. I really am. However, you also agree that there's nothing from preventing any commissioner from making a memo and handing it directly to the city manager.
That is-
Nobody's asking her to stick it in her file, but if I'm unhappy with something, I can write a memo up and just hand it to her. Am I correct?
To the manager, or to me, or to
No,
Ms.?
not to you.
Well, to whoever, any one of the 3 that report to you.
Yeah.
If any one of you is upset, yes, that's been done in the past. I know
And it was done when Mr. Baldwin was here, am I
correct,
correct?
by a former mayor.
Thank you.
former
That's
mayor.
all I want to get clarified is that.
That answer is true.
All right, thank you, bye.
City Clerk?
Upcoming meeting reminders, Tuesday, December 10 at 5:30, you have your CRA board meeting, followed by your regular city commission meeting at 7 p.m. That's all.
Happy Thanksgiving. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
just duplicate that.